All right, doing a stream today. It's actually been a while. I'm still kind of unopinionated about whether your soul is edified or damaged by doing a live stream. I don't actually know. A couple months ago, for his soul because it makes him egotistical. I don't know. I don't feel like they make me egotistical. I just feel like they're kind of a waste of time. Welcome to the live stream. Now that I've told you not to watch, waste of time. I don't know. If we talk about important stuff, I actually have to thought about coming for the first time ever with a couple topics I want to talk about, but we'll just do I read donations and chats and stuff like that. Weirdly enough, there are a couple videos that I want to make, but I don't know the format to do them in. I don't know if they're like better for a not related episode or like one of those videos where I put pictures on top and talk about it. But maybe we can talk about that. I really just have to wait on them. But so I put out some videos the other couple days after a hiatus of several months. But we can talk about basically whatever people want. I've just had a busy weekend. I intended to stream on both Saturday and Sunday. I mean, either one or the other, and I didn't have time, and I just now got time. I actually just got back from, I guess, kind of doing some things with family. So, you can give me your opinion if you think that live streams are bad for your soul, but if you're here, you probably don't think that they're too bad. Can you just do a live not related? Yeah, I've actually done that once before. It might be worth doing again. I could probably do it better now, so I may do that. But the other thing is like branding it. My main issue with it was, so what I was going to talk about. So I've done videos on like how particular terms have changed over centuries, like how they mean different things. I think I did one on like nature and one on freedom, and I wanted to do one on the word generate, which sounds way more boring than like freedom or nature, but it's actually super interesting because it's like relevant to theology and like positivism in modern science and like how people model things. So and I actually I don't know, what I really need to do is I just need to record lower quality videos, or at least like more off the cuff stuff, because honestly sometimes when I'm at home and alone, no one else is here and I'm just to myself, like I have all these things I kind of want to talk about, but I guess I haven't. When you first start your YouTube channel, I shouldn't feel like this anymore after 5 years, but when you first start it, you're kind of awkward about doing things, like awkward about recording a video. It's just if I did that, I'd just like just be recording something sitting on my chair, but maybe I'll do that. All right, so let's see what's in the chat. So I think I pinned the donation links, which should be working. If they don't work, someone tell me. I don't think I've gotten any yet, but whatever. I think I like just since the last time I did a live stream, I had to reinstall the FOSPay thing. But if there's any problem, just say in the chat. But I will look at that otherwise. Let's see. Live streams can be spiritually perilous. Yeah, I kind of agree with that. I feel like it's kind of worse for the people who are viewing. I know. Well, this is the real thing where it sounds bad. I feel like it's worse for the people viewing it than me doing it. For me, it's no big deal. I'm just like talking to a screen, which I don't really mind. Like I don't think it's that bad. And you guys know the way I look at the internet. I look at this as literally a screen. I know there are people behind it, but like the internet is fake to me. Whereas I will just say this, like, I don't watch anyone's streams. You know what I mean? Like, there are a couple people whose stuff I've tried to watch. Like, I've tried to watch, people always tell me to watch, like, Jay Dyer stuff, and, which is fine, but, like, every single video he does is, like, a stream that's, like, 3.5 hours. And, like, I'll try to, I don't know. I just don't have that kind of time. Like, I like to think I have a lot of free time, but like when you want to hear his take on one thing and it's a video that's like super long, it's just I don't know if I want to do that. Let's see. When you Libra booted your X60, did you experience the battery getting drained when leaving it on the laptop? Leaving it on the laptop? Did you upgrade the BIOS before Libra booting? No, I had never had that problem. I will say I still haven't done a video on this, but a dude who I think works for LibreBoot, one of the guys who has done something with LibreBoot, sent me a LibreBooted ThinkPad that I plan on doing a video on. But it actually has an issue like that where you'll shut it down and like the battery notification is still on. Now it's only on Artix Linux. I was running Void on it before and it was not doing that. So I don't know. I think there are some weird kernel issues with some kernels and some LibreBoot. Like I've only had it on Artix. Like when I was running Arch before, it wasn't an issue. When I was running Void, it wasn't an issue. So I don't exactly know what it is. But, I mean, to end the problem, you just hold down on the power button until the light turns off. Luke, wouldn't it be nice to have some modern hardware? No, it actually wouldn't. It would be a big pain. I mean, there are benefits to having modern hardware. Like, sometimes I'd like to have a USB 3, more USB 3 ports if I'm transferring a whole lot of data, but that's really a rare thing. Like, even USB-C is like not super necessary. The only thing that is, I think, annoying about ThinkPads, using a classic ThinkPad, is the fact that they don't come with like 1080p displays, and that's really only annoying for me because I record videos on them. Or at least, well, really when I record on a ThinkPad now, it's plugged up to a screen inside a desktop. Like I don't record like laptop alone videos. Barco Bummer, stop asking me about posting the same thing over and over again. I don't know about Kiwi Farms. I know they exist. I don't know about Cloudflare. I don't care. If you're trusting Cloudflare, I don't know. I don't know what you can do. Yeah, don't post the same question over and over again. Let's see. Have you read your books all the way through? What, the books in here? No. Everyone asks everyone with a library that. I don't know why. Like, not everyone reads every book they own. Most of them are here literally just for a reference. So, thoughts on CRTs? CRTs, that could be many things. I think of charitable remainder trusts. I really like those because they're great for avoiding capital gains tax. If you're on crypto, you got to get a CRT. I know that's also a monitor, and I know it's also critical race theory. Not a big fan of that. Yeah, 1366 by 768. Yeah, that is a dumb resolution. Okay. Let me... Luke, tell us about your Orthodox journey. Have you been to a Rokor or Serbian church yet? No. Or, well, no to Serbian. Yeah, Rokor. I've been to many Rokor churches now. There aren't... I would prefer to be baptized in a Rokor church or, like, go to one... of course, the Orthodox church is the Orthodox church, right? They're all in communion, but I would kind of prefer Rokor because they're... my experiences with them have been very good. They're very, like, liturgically and I guess socially conservative. I'm not like again like if I go occasionally to a Greek church. Now, for those who don't know, there are no churches near me whatsoever. Okay, not anywhere close. So it's a big issue going to a church. It's like basically the closest one is like a 90-minute drive. And there are a couple others maybe a little further that I could go to. There's a Rokor church, I want to say 2.5 hours from me. But I will go to, I've been a couple times to, like St. Mary's in Atlanta, and that's a much longer drive, but I like them. I've talked to the priests there, and one of the priests there was a guy who was, I mentioned in a video, I was assembling names to establish kind of, have them do some kind of service down in Valdosta or something like that, so... Arizona summer, can you survive without an AC? Depends on what your living conditions are. Like if you have a lot of... So one thing about when you do a live stream, I don't like to have my AC on. So I think I just turned my AC off right before I started. So I'm kind of on the clock. Like as it gets hotter and hotter, I'm going to have to like maybe I do have a fan in here. I should use that. But okay, I think there was a super chat, but I did not see that. Have you read Father Seraphim Moreau's? What's your opinion? I've read, like, I think I read some of, like, Genesis, creation, and early man, but not that much of it. So I mean, I'll see like little articles that people reproduce of him, but like I haven't read them very religiously. Um, okay. The other thing about, so like in the American South, like architecture used to be based on like your classic like cracker house or a plantation house if you're richer. They're built to get as much like breeze through it as possible. So you know, for people who don't know these kind of houses, firstly you'll have a house and then you'll have basically a patio, not a patio, that's not the word I'm looking for, like a front porch except for around the whole thing, right? So people would just hang on the porch all day, and then like you would always have like the front and back door would connect directly and you could open them both during the day and wind would go through and stuff like that. So like all of architecture was to get like wind through there to cool it down because it's hot. And of course they would be built over, you know, they wouldn't be built on like solid foundations. They would be elevated. Let's put it that way. They would have foundations that just be like heightened, so air could blow under it as well. So you know, it doesn't get as, you know, a little better. Did you enjoy your visit to West Virginia? How did you like that state? West Virginia, the time I went up for Pascha, you know, when I went to the Orthodox Church, I was kind of on the west side of West Virginia, and I will say a lot of it, like I was only over the border a little bit, and of course the reality of a lot of Appalachia is that it's kind of like, well, I'll just say trashy. Not to be impolite, I think people there would kind of recognize it as such. Like it's not like infrastructurally, it's very much kind of backwoodsy. Like the roads aren't super good. Like a lot of the stuff is just kind of junky. And that's not to say anything bad about the people there or whatever. Although you know they do have a lot of like, you know, there are people there who have a lot of drug issues and stuff. So I would think of it as a nice place to live, but not because of like good infrastructure or anything. I would think of it more as a nice kind of like I want to live a remote life and you know, around, like there are a bunch of guys there who like are in the Orthodox Church and they're really serious about making some kind of long-term I guess sustainable lifestyle together, but it's not like I think all of that region, like the post-industrial America is very much, you know, it's kind of an issue. You know, it's in decline. A lot of people just have nothing to do, and that's how it is. That's how a lot of like that part of the country is. Current opinion on the Russian Greek Orthodox schism? I mean, not really. I mean, I think in the grand scheme of things, it's going to be like one of those temporary little schisms that is just political in nature. And that, I mean, that's how it is. Like most of the rest of the church doesn't care about it. Most of the people technically involved in the schism don't matter. But I would say like my impression of it, and this isn't just because you know I said positive things about Rokor, but my impression of it would be to side with the Russian side. Just because I think there are some kind of worrisome, like the ecumenical patriarch, the patriarch of Constantinople, like, you know, I think there have been some worrisome things he said, like he kind of acquiesces to modernism in some senses, which, you know, in Orthodoxy it doesn't really matter as much because, you know, he's not the Pope or anything, he's not like the boss of basically anyone. So I think kind of the issue between there was kind of like him taking the side of like American geopolitics. That's not to like discount like the I don't want to even call them schismatic because I really don't have an opinion, but the schismatic quote unquote Ukrainian church. I don't have a strong opinion on that, but my first reflex would probably be to say that this is mostly something cooked up political by America. But I don't think it's like a big issue. Like I don't think I've never seen anyone in America, like no matter what quote unquote side they are, like really be that opinionated about, or really like think it's a big issue. People are opinionated about it, but it's not a big thing. So that's my thing. I know I should start going to church again, but where I live, everyone is either Catholic or Protestant, with me in parentheses. Should I be worried about that? No, I mean, I'm not. I'm definitely not against like avoiding going. Like, I don't think that people should just, if that's your only option. I'm not telling you to like just don't go to church, because that's not what I did. Now I look back at things and like I don't really, like I wouldn't find from my perspective on the other side, I don't really find Protestant or Catholic churches edifying. But if you're coming from like bare minimum, if you're like an ex-atheist, yeah, definitely I do think you should go to one of those churches, and that's a good place for recovery or just getting your sea legs again. But I'm not going to make perfect the enemy of the good and say, oh, well, they're wrong about this, therefore, you know, you can't. I mean, I still do stuff with, I mean, I go to a Baptist church probably more than I do to Orthodox churches, right? Definitely more, because it's closer. I do a lot of social things there. Do I disagree with them on basically everything? I mean, not basically everything. Yeah, but, like, I don't know. I wouldn't put that in the, like, if you're a mature adult, you can deal with things like that. You can deal with, like, disagreements like that. You know, that's what I'm saying. Did you go to the Wayne, West Virginia Rocore Church? I hear they have a whole community going there. Yeah, I did go there, and I met a lot of the guys there, but they said that similar things are the case in, you know, other parishes or whatever. Hey, Luke. Hey, Luke, I'm a white dude who's good at rapping, been doing it my whole life, pretty passionate about it, but rap is dead, and I don't look like a rapper. Advice to let go of dreams? Yeah, just let go of that dream. Let me do you a favor. You might know that I'm an ex-rapper. Okay. Alright, let me check. Okay, it does not look like I've gotten any donations, so it might be the donation portals are broken, so I don't know. If anyone's tried and they are broken, tell me, and I'll get rid of the stupid pin up there if they're broken. I should probably fix that. I should... You know, I really should be using my online presence to, like, cynically make money off people more. Like, I need to have, like, channel memberships, different tiers, Patreon tiers. That's the kind of stuff I've been so lazy to do. And, like, well, really, I just don't believe in it. Like, you guys know, there was this period where I did do a Patreon with tiers, but I just thought it was so freaking weird. It's weird to do stuff for, like, some people. Like, if you really believe in something, I just think it's wrong to give it to, like, a segment of the people rather than everyone else. I just feel like it's weird. That's my feeling on it. Bitcoin network is down. Yeah. Yeah, you could donate in oh, yeah, I should check for Bitcoin donations, but I don't have notifications for that. Let's see. Donation went through, but my message did not. With donation on what? Okay. Okay, now I'm worried about this. Okay, hold on. Pause. Don't try and donate anything. We're gonna, as usual, we're gonna have to do tech support in real time. Let's see. What could possibly go wrong? FastPay. Is that like not... Hold on. Hold on, kids. Hold on, kids. Okay, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to log into... Crap. Crap. Give me a second. That's right. Sorry, I don't have my Jamie today. What's my... That's the password, right? Oh, okay. I see donations. The emails weren't sending out. I see them all. Okay, sorry, guys. I had to log into FastPay, but I guess I screwed something up with the email server. They're already here. Your money is safe and found sound, and I see all your messages. Okay, so I'm going to turn on the fan, and then I'm going to read these. Okay. So, D-Grab says, thanks for creating content about the more practical tools in Linux. They have been very helpful for my learning. All right, thank you. Thanks for the $10. Andrew Wang sends in, I would assume that you find some of your past behaviors cringe, i.e., cooming or using Google Chrome or playing video games, etc. Is there anything that you think your future self will find cringe in your current self, e.g., things that you have yet to correct? I would say that most there's always a possibility, but it's like it's more marginal stuff. Like once you get rid of the big stuff, I mean, I would say like the things that I get mad at myself for doing. Now, of course, you know my stance on this. I think most of the time people have this tendency to pretend they're not in control of their own behavior, and for me to even say something, oh, I really wish I would stop doing that, is kind of like it's kind of like hypocritical, right? But I would say, like, the things that I feel most remorse for now is if I say something ill about someone, even in passing. I think that's, like, a really common sin that people do. You know, I think, like, it's really important to actually look at people more like how an autistic person would. Like, kind of have mind blindness. Like, morally speaking, in the sense that, like, well, I'll put it this way. I find it really immature when someone gets mad at, like, an animal. Or like a like computer, okay? It's like really kind of immature when someone does that. And I think you should have the same mindset, that kind of autistic mindset of like, why would you get mad at that? For humans as well. Because like humans, like they're kind of on other, like you're not in control of someone else's moral behavior. And I think you really just need to not like bring to light people's faults. Now, I'm totally fine, and in fact, this is something I do regularly. I'm fine with saying things about, in principle, this is a bad thing to do. But when you single someone out, that's something very, very different. And it actually makes things worse because you're like, you're staking their ego to something that's bad. And in a lot of cases, people will just go further with that, like sin or bad thing. So that's what I would say. That's what I think is probably one thing that I look at. And there are a bunch of other things like, oh, okay, my AC did kick on. I'm going to turn that off. So I would say that there's nothing big that I think that I do in my life that's really embarrassing. I do think, I don't know, that's the first thing that comes to my head. I think it's important not to speak ill about people. Okay, so MK Ultra Victim says, thoughts on using Power Chat, going on Cozy. I don't know what Power Chat is. Going on Cozy. People have asked me to go on Cozy. As far as I'm concerned, going on a different platform, if I were to do, like I already have my own PeerTube instance, okay? So if I want to stream, I'll go there. I guess I could get a Restream server going and stream to there. And well, okay, I will say this. I've tried doing a Restream server in the past, but due to some weird thing about how PeerTube processes videos, it's very finicky, okay? So, like, it can't take a lot of these Restream services, so it would work on YouTube or Odyssey. It wouldn't work on other things. But I guess I could stream to a bunch of different things, maybe including Cozy. I think someone has said that they talked to Nick about having me on, and he says he's okay with it, but like I guess they're waiting for me to like say that I want to go on. But yeah, I don't especially. I don't know. As I said when I started this live stream, I'm not even sure that I think that streaming is a like beneficial thing to do. I don't know. I don't think it's so bad. I don't think it's so bad. I'm doing it, so obviously, you know, I'm still holding out on it. But it's just I'm kind of content where I am. But I mean, I support the guys who are doing Cozy. That's great. That's really great that they have their own thing for doing it. It should be free and open source, obviously. Maybe it is. I don't know about it, but I don't know about the source code if it isn't there. Anyway, I'll read further on. Also, even though you don't know much about Kiwi Farms, how do you feel about the fact that they're never finding newer? They're finding newer and more novel ways to deplatform people who do wrong things. Well, Cloudflare had already deplatformed someone else who I can't even mention. We all know who he is. I'm trying to think how to refer to him. You know, he has the Hoax Watch, his website. But so they've already done this in the past. And I think with Kiwi Farms, I know that they exist. I'm not really interested in that kind of stuff. Like, yeah, a lot of it is like making... Actually, Kiwi Farms is maybe a good example of what I just said, where I think it's fine to like say... state principles and say like, oh, doing this is bad, doing this is wrong. Like a lot of my videos are about like, this is a bad habit. that I have done in the past. You shouldn't do this. Or like, it's cringe when people do this. But I think it's wrong to pick on people individually. And I think it's like counterproductive. And I know that Kiwi Farms, they do individual stuff. Like they will like have creepy forums where they have, mind you, a lot of the people they're talking about, they're weirdos, but they will like aggregate information about these people and like kind of weirdly stalk them. And I don't know what goes into the head of someone who does that. So like in terms of like people, I don't really think Kiwi Farms getting attacked for this isn't it. Now when Anglin was a victim of this, that was a much more clear case of like it was free speech where he was just making jokes about just making mean jokes. Whereas these guys like are more agitating. They've done worse stuff. Okay, that's what I'm trying to say. And I don't think it's mature for them to do it. But that said, like I don't know, like I don't think I also think it's terrible that more of the internet is reliant on Cloudflare. But I do think that is a much more understandable thing. Like if I were running a service like Cloudflare and there's a site of people who are like individually targeting people for like kind of cyberbullying, that would actually be a decent like legal case. Like that would be a very, I don't know, it's a stalking site. Like it's freaking weird. I think that's much more understandable, and I don't think that's an issue of like free speech. Pascal says, hey Luke, in the past you said that you do not find arguments for young earth creationism convincing, but it was widely believed in the early church that Adam and Eve were real people and the earth was and that the earth was young. I understand that the Orthodox Church does not have a dogmatic position. I mean, if anything, it has a dogmatic position that is, you know, it depends on what you mean by dogmatic, but yeah, I mean, I would say the Orthodox Church in general believes in young earth creationism. But anyway, I understand that the Orthodox Church is but it seems they tend to reject the theory of evolution. Do you believe in evolution, and if so, and how do you reconcile evolution with Christianity? I mean, people ask me about this a lot because I've done stuff on evolution, and like I've done podcast episodes assuming that it's true. And a lot of that was like back when I was more like an ambiguous, like I don't. Well, I'll put it this way. My viewpoint right now is I don't think it's a theologically important issue, like in the things that I think of right now. So it's not like I feel fine assenting to the church's teachings if they believe in young earth creationism. I'm really just not opinionated about it myself. And I'm fine with that because there are many things going into that. Firstly, my view of institutional science since, when I was a kid, when I was a teenager, and I was like, you know, a cringe atheist, that was something that was super important because when you're a Protestant, they almost want to die on the hill of evolution. Like they really love like these kind of these debates, and frankly, they like lose every one of them because like a lot of them they're just like very poorly argued, and just I don't know bad like, people who don't understand the anthropic principle and things like that, right? Kind of facile arguments. But as time has gone on, I would say I have very little trust in institutional science in the same way that, I've written essays about this and done podcast episodes on that. And I haven't really looked into how evolutionary biology, how the field works in itself. But I very much believe that it is it is the normal state of affairs for people who have external reasons for believing things to believe or disbelieve in some kind of, something like evolution that is philosophically convenient for them. And I guess scientific frameworks can just pass, they can be based on core assumptions that are ultimately just assumed. And it's mostly an issue of working out the data they see in a particular, rationalizing it in their particular mindset, paying attention to certain information, ignoring certain information. Scientific fields do that all of the time. So at this point, I kind of view it like some people want me to like give them this reason not to believe in evolution. And I will just say my view on it is, while there might be lots of things wrong with evolution if I dug into it, at this point, I'm content to say that, yeah, I don't trust institutional science at this point. So I don't really care to look into it that much. Although maybe I should. It might be very enlightening, but I don't think about it that much. So, I mean, if someone asks me, sure, I'm a creationist, but it's kind of, I'm kind of apathetic to the particular issue. So, okay, another Jaws. I don't know what this email's supposed to be. Luke, are you familiar with Owen Barfield's, one of the Inklings, works or ideas? No, I'm not. I think they would be a great for a not related episode, as I believe there are contrasts to be made regarding his ideas of the evolution of language and consciousness with Julian James' bicameral mind theory. I'll make a note of Owen Barfield. Notes, Owen Barfield. Okay. NFT myself says, greetings, Luke. Thoughts on Andrew Tate? What do you think about the ban? So I've heard of this guy Andrew Tate now because like a month or so ago, I think he became famous. And I got this slew of comments on my channel saying like, whoa, this guy's like Andrew Tate, or whoa, this is like the Andrew Tate of Linux, or the Andrew Tate of blah, blah, blah. And I was like, who the heck is this Andrew Tate guy? So I looked him up. And some people have actually sent me like videos of him. He's bald or whatever. He's one of those sunglasses guys. He's one of the guys who copes with being bald by wearing sunglasses all the time, guys. Which kind of used to be me. Although I'd usually wear them on my head, right? So I don't know. Like I will say, someone sent me this video of his. I forgot what it is. I think some of his stuff is kind of flexing. It's funny, but he's one of those Sigma grindset guys, which I guess people could call me Sigma grindset because whatever. So it's a funny thing. I don't know that much about him. I know he got banned from something. I don't know about it. I know he exists. Okay, that's all I know. So I try not to have drama queen on the internet. Whenever I have to mention someone, it's like whatever. I don't have a real opinion about him, but whatever. Although I will say he has this bizarre accent. When I first saw a video with him, I was like, he has an American accent, but American who's like trying to put on like a British, like it sounds like an American person trying to do a British accent and failing. But I think it's because like he was like raised in Britain when he was a kid, like he was an American who moved to something like that. So, let's see. It's been so Prince Manish says it's been 4 years since your last review. Is it better to buy a Purism laptop now? Yeah, am I supposed to regularly review products? I don't know. I don't keep track of like products. As far as I'm concerned, so Purism, if they're doing all free and open source stuff, great. If they're doing LibreBoot stuff, even better. I did my video. I think when I did a video review of them, I basically said they're very expensive for what they are. You could just get a ThinkPad and put coreboot, LibreBoot on it. And of course they're not. They were using coreboot, not LibreBoot. So it's not like totally all free software. And I said basically you could do it cheaper. I think that's what I said in that video. I don't know if things have changed yet, if they're using LibreBoot or if there's something else. I'm not quite sure. But in general, so I will just say, realistically speaking, if I were ever not to use a ThinkPad, an old ThinkPad, for my personal laptop use, it would absolutely 100,000%, that's not a number, but it would have to have a track point. There's no way. There's absolutely no way that I could survive without that. So that's something that it has to have. I'm not interested. I don't care if I don't care if Richard Stallman himself created this laptop. If it doesn't have a track point on it, I just cannot function. I will not be able to function. It's just a big pain. So, but in general, I don't do reviews. It's just like if it comes up, Frederick says, $10 as the default? What do you need $20 for? That's $50 is hard-earned money. In all seriousness, my question is, what is your opinion about the success of OpenBSD's security facility uptake? My opinion on it is that I don't know anything about it, so I'm not going to talk that much about it. Also, you've been half a decade behind my same experiences with source-available software. Look forward to using a BSD in anger when you realize no one is using SE Linux properly. Realize. Okay, maybe that 4 I think the last part cut off. It just says relays at the end. I think he was doing meme arrow stuff. Sorry. It should tell you. Maybe I should have my prompt say, "Oh, you're over the character limit." But it is a pretty. He did have a very large message there. Andrew says, "Are you optimistic about the Ethereum merge later this month?" I'm not paying attention to Ethereum. I don't care about Ethereum. So someone says, "Don't bother saying my username." Okay. I should have a separate, like, name prompt. Let's say, "Hey Luke, do you actually believe in the afterlife?" Of course I believe in the afterlife. "As an Orthodox Christian myself, it seems only natural that it is true as everything else in the Bible, but I find it hardest to accept. Also, I have tried looking for information on this. Why is it that sinners cannot repent in hell, God's eternal presence? Is it because change is unnatural and God's unchanging and timeless nature?" I would say you actually kind of answered your own question there, at least from the Orthodox perspective. But you might want to ask a priest about that. I'm not. That sounds like it would be the best answer. If you had not given that answer, I probably would have said the same thing. But you can ask a priest if you're not sure. So I mean, I don't find it... Well, I'll put it this way. I think when I was an atheist, here's how you look at things if you're an atheist. Well, I'm a body, so I see things with my eyes. I feel things with my body. You know, like, I'm kind of this body, right? And if I were to lose my eyes or lose my sensors... You know, if I lost my eyes, I couldn't see. If I lost my body, I couldn't feel. If I lost my ears, I couldn't hear, right? And then if you subtract everything, there's nothing left, right? So, oh my goodness, therefore things, consciousness doesn't exist. Or it's all material, right? And I think that's, like, fundamentally a bad argument. Well, firstly, because, like, consciousness is something aside from your senses. Secondly, because I think a good way of looking at it is, like, the human body, which is very important, but the human body is not like a computer. It's more like a television. In that computers, they generate, they're doing the computation themselves. They're creating the experience. Whereas televisions, they are fundamentally receiving signals. Now, you can damage the television, and it will distort the signal, right? In the same way that you can damage a body and, like, your senses screw up and stuff like that. That's definitely true. But it's totally fallacious to say something like, well, look at all of our senses, they're physical, therefore there's nothing beyond immediate senses, there's nothing non-material. That's a totally bad argument. And in fact, consciousness itself, I think one of the issues, I didn't, when I was an atheist, I didn't think of this as a good argument, and it's still kind of hard to put in, it's kind of hard to make people understand. But the absolute best reason for believing in something beyond the physical is simply the thing that you see all the time, and that is consciousness. Like, it is not something that can even be put in, like, physicalistic terms. Like, consciousness can be affected by things in the brain, but it is a substance that is beyond physical substance. Like, it's not something, it's kind of, like, the way I explain it to people, it's kind of like, how Hume has this argument, you can take it or leave it, that, well, you can have any amount of facts about the world. You can never derive from mere facts moral statements. You can take moral statements and add facts to them and derive new moral statements, but you can never, from mere facts, get to this other level of morality. And I think that there's a good argument to be made there. But the same is actually kind of true with consciousness, whereas when we're looking at physical matter, when we're looking at the material substances of the universe, right? When you really think about it, there is no way you can combine things, even if they're recursive, even if, that's the Hofstadter cope. Oh, well, consciousness is recursive, so maybe, like, there's some way we can make recursive matter and, like, somehow consciousness just appears, right? But, material, like, atoms are such that you are just combining them, you're moving them around, you're making different configurations, but you're never, from materialistic terms, you're never just going to create this sense. Like, you're never going to have this extra level. It's something beyond, it's right in front of our faces all the time, but it's something that's really supernatural. So whatever your interpretation of that, I really think, now this is hard to kind of put in words, if you don't know what I mean. Also because I think there are some people who are probably not actually conscious, and they're like, what the heck is this guy talking about? Consciousness. I don't know what that is. But, whatever. So, yeah. So Neomut says, everyone's asking why Luke, but not how's Luke. How are you, Luke? People ask that too, and I don't answer personal questions on the stream. Luke, don't tell me you still believe in atoms and molecules. Well, I'm putting it in normie language, right? DSS says, what does Luke think about independent Baptists? I don't know. No opinion. Same as other Baptists. There can be some more based ones. Wasn't the dude in Arizona, who was he? The Giga-based Baptist. What was his name? Steven Anderson. He did this very interesting documentary called Marching to Zion. So, Luke, have you read the Wizard book, The Structure and Interpretation of Computer Program? I don't actually have that book. I know I've read a good part of it. That's the old List book, isn't it? Yeah, I don't own that, and I don't think I've read it all the way through. Yeah, how are you is too personal, actually. I mean, it really just is like, I'm not the kind of person who responds to personal questions. Yeah, that's Sigma grind set. When people ask you how you are, just ignore them. Just don't even acknowledge their existence. No, really, I just feel like, dude, I don't know. You don't know me. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like we're not here to talk about personal things. Like, I'm not asking, how are you guys? You want to tell me about your day? Because it's like, what if 200 people like told me about their days in the chat? I would not read that. Wouldn't be able to. Red Axe says, when's the next podcast episode, mate? You know the schedule for Not Related. It's always on the schedule of when I feel like it. The thing is, I'm not going to make uninspired episodes, so they just come when I feel like it. I think I said at the beginning, I thought about recording an episode that, well, it might be better for another format, but on the concept of generativity, why it's important for everything from the theology to philosophy of science. If you actually sat me down, there are a few things that I can complain about like all day long. Positivism is perhaps the thing that like I'm most likely to spurg out at for like hours and hours. I will talk to myself about positivism. If I'm at home alone doing nothing, I will literally be like, I cannot believe that people actually believe in this stuff. Or, I mean, let's be real. I don't know. Let's see. Okay, so... Okay, so someone sends me an email saying he donated. Got stuck on submitting. Hey, Luke, just wanted to ask, are you aware that most Eastern Orthodox subscribe to a heresy known as Palamat? Yeah, it's not a heresy. It's a heresy to say that there's no difference between God's essence and energies, because it leads you to total absurdities. Like, you can't, like, God cannot actually appear to people in the physical world, more or less. Like, Moses, he wasn't actually experiencing God in any meaningful way. God just arranged the light show for him, and it wasn't God. It was just like a... So that's absurd. The thing goes on. He says, basically, these Greek Orthodox monks known as hesychasts were practicing pagan yoga meditations, and they saw this... No, this is stupid. Like, the thing about the essence energies distinction is, like, during that period, like, you have these people flesh out the terminology, but it's something that's been taught since the very beginning of the church. So it's totally stupid like, Catholics have this weird... Like, Catholics, what they do in this, like, extreme... imagine having to be a Catholic and, like, just being on the gerbil wheel of cope all day long. Where, like, Catholics will be constantly accused, rightly, of, like, making up all these new doctrine in the Middle Ages and all this new stuff, like the papacy itself and everything else. And, like, they'll try and say, oh, well, the Orthodox, they made up this essence energies thing that happened in the Middle Ages and blah, blah, blah. But, it's something... Church fathers talk about this stuff in similar words, sometimes in the exact same words. But no, it's silly. It's not a heresy. It's silly. Marcio says, hey, Luke, I used to follow a YouTuber, but he has a lot of non-Christian views and attitudes. At first, I simply unfollowed him, but now I think I should follow Jesus' example and pray for him, not feel bad for watching his content. Do you think that? What do you think is the right thing to do? I mean, it depends on what it is. I mean, if it's like totally demonic stuff and it's like, you know, trainee brainwashing stuff, yeah, don't watch it. But like, I don't know. It depends on what it is. Let's see if this is. I can't tell if this is a comment or someone who... this is a stupid email. I'll read it. What a waste. How do you say that advertisements don't benefit anyone? They don't. They don't. This is why you are profiting from your YouTube channel. Well, if you saw how much I made from my YouTube channel, you would not think I'm profiting from my YouTube channel. And they put ads on it anyway. Internet would not progress without advertising. That is not the case. The internet would be... I would happily abandon YouTube today if I could, for all humanity, get rid of advertising. And that's why whenever someone says, I want to do you a favor and, you know, unblock ads on your channel, I will tell them, don't do that. That is stupid. I like, if you're not blocking every single ad on my channel, I don't know, like, it's just ridiculous. Yeah. So ads on the internet are just stupid. Just don't. You should be blocking everything. If you, for a moment, are like, wow, I want... You know what? When you watch all the suffering you go through watching ads, like, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm going to get like a quarter of a penny for that. Do I care? Like, is that going to make a difference? No, it isn't. Okay? I would much rather, like, literally do a live stream and people donate dollars to have me read their comment than, you know, force them to sit through, like, some kind of, like, commercial brainwashing. Which, the worst part is, like, the thing is, the whole ad hoax way back in the day, with, what was it, like, you know, like, when all these ad companies left YouTube under this idea, oh, well, we want to be able to decide what videos our ads get on, because we don't want our ads to be on questionable content. That is totally nonsensical, because I have no say over the stupid ads that get put on my videos, okay? Like, it's ridiculous when I do a video, I could do a video saying, like, yeah, stop being an idiot and use a static site generator. If you use WordPress, you're, like, totally retarded. And then YouTube will put a WordPress ad on that video, okay? Which is kind of funny. Like, I guess I shouldn't be mad because it is me making money off of these people while I'm telling you that they're stupid. So I guess they're getting screwed twice. Paying money for this ad and me, you know, telling people not to use them. But, yeah, it's ridiculous. Like, we don't have a say in it. We are not equal participants in this. And yeah, the internet should not be commercialized. It was better. Like, look on my personal website. Am I ever going to put an ad there? Okay. Closest thing on, you know, if you go to my donation page at the very bottom of that, I have, like, affiliate links. You can click on those, but those are, like, things you're getting. And, you know, you could get anyway without me. And it, you know, that I just get some perk. You know, I get credit. You know, if you get a domain name, I get credit off my domain payments. Okay, so I'm fine with that, but that's not advertising. Okay, I mean, even if you put like a big banner for that, like, that's different from stupid companies forcing stupid ads on my page that I don't even believe in. Okay, that's enough about complaining about that. But I just loathe ads. I just loathe them, and you should be blocking everything on my channel, especially. Okay, finally got some XMR. So have you gone fully off grid yet? Any plans to do so? If not, I mean, I'm on the internet. Am I off grid? No. No, off grid is like one of those things. It's like moral perfection. It's like a thing that I don't think anyone will ever reach, but you will get. I mean, it's like a mathematical function that's like approaching something, but it's never approaching a value, but it's never going to get there. It's kind of like that. And that's how your life is. Like, a lot of people will be like, oh, you know what? I feel like my webcam looks ugly. I feel like it's, like, too bright now. Hold on. I'm going to change this. I just, like, looked at my webcam, and I'm like, man, I'm way too bright. I'm so vain, I need to change this. No, but, like, a lot of people, off the grid is something you need to be constantly moving towards, but you will probably actually get there. And there's nothing wrong with that. Okay, that's a little darker. Okay. I think the light outside has been changing. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like, you want to move there, but you're never probably going to get there unless society just collapses and you're off grid by default. And there are many good reasons to have. I mean, you're still going to want to, I still have mailing addresses and stuff like that. So, there's nothing wrong with that. You got to be realistic about things. It's a gradual transformation, I think. And it really, really, and this goes for everything. So a lot of people, whether it's like free software, oh my goodness, I like scratched something on my leg and it bled on me a little bit. A lot of people kind of make perfect the enemy of the good, and they say, oh, it's too hard to have like perfect privacy. Oh, it's too hard to like use all free software. Oh, it's too hard to like live off the grid and be financially independent. Oh, it's too hard. Yeah, it is too hard. But when you're moving in that direction, you're making it easier for you and everyone else and your children. So maybe in 100 years, your grandchildren can live in a world like that. That's the point. Like, you're moving to a goal. Maybe you want to accomplish it. I mean, it's like, if you plant a tree in your yard. I have a couple trees that I've planted. Okay, when they're full size, I mean, probably when they're full size, I'll still be alive, right? But hypothetically speaking, if I'm 70 years old, I'm not going to be obnoxious and egocentric and say, oh, well, I'm not going to plant trees here because I'm never going to be alive to enjoy them. It's the same thing when it comes to basically everything. Like when you're talking about financial independence, personal independence, being like not independent of freaking Amazon and all this stuff, right? You're not just acting for you, you're acting for your future. And if you set, like, your children being your future, and if you set them up like in bad habits, well, Google Drive is easy to use, I'm gonna teach my kid how to use that instead of just using a free software equivalent, or better yet, just not telling them that computers exist and like hiding the internet from them because you actually care about them. So just make progress with that, right? That's what I'm trying to get at. And it's stupid if people are I don't know. It's stupid if people like fixate too much on being perfect. Okay. So I think this is DJ. Live streams are great. I rarely catch them live, but I listen to all of them all the time while walking, and I know several people who do the same. It holds me over in years between not related episodes. Yeah. Yep, that's what you got to do, all you guys waiting for not related episodes. And still better than most podcasts out there. My question for you is, have you heard of Wrath of Non on Twitter? He has a Substack as well, and posts about stuff about traditional architecture, good urbanism, and traditionalism in general. That's Wrath of Non, spelled Gnon. Worth an add to your RSS feed. Use Knitter for JavaScript free Twitter. I know I've seen that name. I've probably seen that. I don't like regularly follow him, but that name is definitely familiar. I've probably seen like posts of his and stuff. Okay, so Mr. Kalinowski says, Luke, are you still using Groff to write documents, or have you switched back to LaTeX? Also, what are your thoughts on Dvorak or Kolomak keyboard layouts? I never used Groff as a regular thing. Okay, so Groff is fine for. So I use it for a couple things. So if you download LARPs, if you install my dot files, there's a help menu if you hold down Windows and press F1. And I wrote that in Groff because every time you do that, like I would be constantly updating this PDF file, and it'd be a big pain with the Git repository whenever you have a kind of binary file. So I actually write that in Groff because when people press that key binding, it automatically compiles it instantaneously in Groff, and Groff is super fast for that, super good. So I use it for that. I've used it for other things. I think I've used it for like little note-taking and stuff, but in general, I use LaTeX for everything. So everything on lindypress.net is definitely all LaTeX. And there are a bunch of things that it would just be really hard to do in Groff, just because LaTeX is just replete with different kinds of packages, all these different kinds of things that you can do. Whereas Groff, I mean, there are things out there, but it's a little harder doing. I mean, there's less documentation, there are fewer packages, It's just harder to do heavier stuff. But if you're just doing basic documents, Graph is probably fine. But I never used it just as a rule, even though it's like it's kind of better, like a better standard. Really, I mean, the actual ideal would be having something extensible like that in the modern day. Like, if you want if guys out there, if you're interested in making the world a better place, what a tech standard that actually needs to exist is something that can generate documents like tech or like Graph, but it has markdown-like syntax. That would be the ideal. Like, super simple syntax. Like, basically, you know, markdown plus some other things. Like, you can have more complex commands that are in, I don't know, brackets or whatever kind of syntax. I'm not quite sure. But that would be the actual ideal. And to be able to write documents in that, to be able to write websites in that, and, like, build a extremely minimalistic and extensible compiling system from that and building packages on top of that, that would be the real ideal. And that's how it is in tech. Realistically speaking, there are a bunch of, like, the first time you do things in tech, you always do them the wrong way. You always have, like, these kind of weird, the first standard is always wrong. Bitcoin screwed things up. So you got to have some, you know, private currency that solves other things. That's Monero, or that's something else, you know. Or HTML is a crappy standard. It'd be nice if we had servers that, like, didn't, you know, maybe something you could write in Markdown. There are things where you can write in Markdown and it appears in HTML. But anyway, for document compilation, that'd be really nice if we had some minimalistic thing that had Markdown-like syntax. All right. So, Keith says, been listening to Democracy, the God That Failed in audiobook form about 3 chapters in, and while there are some good points and observations, I get the feeling that this guy is just an ANCAP or libertarian without any practical solutions. I mean, yeah, he is an ANCAP or libertarian. I think the whole Democracy, the God That Failed book, like, it was more like a rhetorical argument where he was not dealing with actually, like, super based and red-pilled people, you know what I mean? Like, he was dealing with more a normie political environment back then. So, like, there weren't people who were like, yeah, monarchy's a good idea. This is before people became based and red-pilled, right? So, like, anyone saying monarchy is awesome, like, back at the time when that book was written, it's kind of like he couldn't possibly mean this, he must mean something else. And the whole argument of that book is more or less like, oh, yeah, I don't actually believe in monarchy, but democracy demonstrably is worse than monarchy. And it is. Like, the arguments of the book are, like, fine. They're good. I mean, they're all couched in, like, Austro-libertarian language and stuff, which, you know, you might not be interested in. And I think they're kind of a little too autistic. Oh, you know, I didn't answer the guy's question about Kolomak. I'll do that. But that's my view on Democracy, the God That Fails. That failed. It failed. It continues to fail. It will probably fail more in the future. It is failing right now in America and everywhere else. Yeah, I mean, the guy is an ANCAP. I think compared to other ANCAPs, he's probably, like, a little more wise on some things. But, you know, he's probably gotten even wiser since then. But back on that last guy's comment, I forgot to answer the question about Dvorak or Kolomak. Yeah, don't use Dvorak or Kolomak or any alternate keyboard layout. You're just going to make your life miserable. It's going to be hard to use Vim. It's going to be hard to, like... Every single program you use with keyboard bindings, you're just going to have to... It's just going to screw your brain up. And the benefits to using those layouts are just so theoretical and marginal, you know? It's just going to be an annoyance. Don't do it. You're going to waste your time. All right. Let's see. Okay, I think I finally caught up with all the donations. Finally. Read through them all. I should check my email too. Oh, just kidding. Just kidding. Wait, what is that? Some guy says, wait, hold on. Why is this not pulling up? Okay, Nicholas says, hello, Luke, in Swiss or something. Some kind of German language. I don't know. He has a Swiss flag. That's all he has to say. All right. Random guy who emailed me during a live stream. I'll answer your question anyway because it's short. Hey, Luke, do you have any idea when crypto will be accepted as a form of payment on LindyPress? I'm not working on that right now. I know I told people that I might work on rewriting the whole thing in Go and like adding in BTC Pay this year. I've not had the chance this year, honestly, because I gotta learn a lot about Go that I don't know and learn a lot about some web stuff, but like I just haven't had the time. So the other holdback is with if I'll just explain my business model right now. So with LindyPress, which by the way, go to lindypress.net and buy Basin Red Pill books, reprints of classical stuff. Actually, let's advertise them right now. Buy Isidore of Seville's Book of Etymology, the standard textbook of basically all the West. Overexposed here. You can't really see it. It's too glossy, too nice of a finish to even read this on camera. But awesome book, written in Latin. This is in Latin, to be clear. This one is. It'll say on the website what language they're written in. This is fantastic. This is basically an encyclopedia of classical learning. Awesome stuff. Great for Latin learners because it's written super simply. You can just pick it up and read it. Awesome for using in Latin classrooms. Book of Enoch and Book of Jubilees, another excellent thing. If you want to add some stuff from the Deuterocanon to your reading. Nice, I went with the 2-column layout. You can't see any of this, but I went with the 2-column layout there. Wow, this is like so overexposed. It's because I changed it to make it look darker in here. That's why it will not even show up. I'm going to change it. No, I'm not going to change it. It's too much. There's text in here. You can see it. Okay, it shows up here. All right. I'm just about done with my compilation of early Christian writings that I'm gonna put up there. And actually, I never released the Alchemy Reader. I need to release that as well. So I might need to take something out of this one, and I might put something into the Christian Reader, and then that'll be it. And I want to say, oh yeah, there are a couple other ones I want to. Did I put out the Consolation of Philosophy? Yeah, that's a good one. Everyone should buy that one. That's actually like an unironic... Did I put that one out? Consolation of Philosophy. Yes, I did. This is an awesome book. Get this one. So this is like Boethius. I probably advertised this on some stream when I first put it out. It's like half poetry, half prose, and it's all awesome. Boethius was this dude who was like... it's not important, the background, but like he was basically in a sham trial. He was convicted and sentenced to death. And this is kind of a book of his coping. It's like, what justice is there in the world? Like, if I'm a righteous man and I'm being I'm suffering unto death. So it's like him, philosophy tries to console him. So anyway, it's an interesting, very interesting book. Anyway, whatever. What was I saying there? The other thing about that, on my business model there, obviously when someone places an order, what it does is it queues the order, which I have to pay for, and it also, of course, it receives the money from them, which will pay for that and, a little bit of profit for me. But the thing is, to do crypto, I still have to pay the production costs in fiat, right? So I really need a big treasure chest of fiat currency. So I kind of need more people to buy, because if I get a whole bunch of orders in Bitcoin or Monero or something like that, people really want to buy stuff in Monero. That's one thing I've noticed when I had it open before in crypto. Like if I don't have kind of a storage chest or like constant business in fiat, I will not be able to pay, like basically, I will be getting lots and lots and lots and lots of Monero, but I'll have zero fiat balance, and that is not good because I need fiat to pay my fees. That's basically what I'm getting at. Even if I'm getting people buying in fiat, I'd have to do the math for like what proportion it needs to be. So that's another reason I kind of want it to be bigger before I put crypto payments on it. Now, one other thing. So I'm going to talk about credit cards. Well, I'm going to talk about credit cards. I love talking about credit cards. That's like mostly people when they're greedy and they want to talk about money, they talk about like how much money they're making. I like talking about how much money I'm saving. You know me, and you know every year I'll do a video on like how to rip off credit cards or whatever. So I will say this, I've said in the past, like, never, only like, dumb normies actually use credit cards for credit, right? Oh yeah, I don't care about APR. Like, I've said that stuff before. But within the past year, I've actually started, when I get a credit card out, so if people don't know, when you get a credit card, they'll usually give you like no APR for like a year. Meaning, if you buy like $1,000 of stuff on that, and you just hold the balance and don't pay it off, you just pay your minimum payment, which will be like $20, you can still owe them $1,000 with no interest whatsoever for a year. And actually, Lindy Press, I got a business card just for that, which I've just been, I don't know, I'm probably in like $10,000 of debt just on that, which I could pay off at any moment, mind you. I have an account with that money that I could pay it off for at any time. But my thinking is, inflation is so bad now that if I am people are paying me with this amount of money now, in the future, when I pay this off with the no APR offer, I'm going to be making money, but like in real value, even though, it's equal in this. So like inflation is so bad, I'm like, I should actually take advantage of no APR offers. And once this one expires, I'm going to have to pay it off, let's see, maybe like April of next year. It's going to take a big chunk, $10,000 or whatever. Maybe more, maybe less. I'm not quite sure what it is. I forget. I'm not going to tell you how much money I've burned through, like, doing this business. But after that, I'll probably just get another credit card and just, like, use that zero APR offer. Or, I could do the aw geez dude technique. I could do the Sam Hyde technique of just not paying your bills. But, I don't really... I think the Sam Hyde technique, people have asked me unironically, what do I think about that? And I think it is kind of like, I'm all for, taking advantage of the traditional financial system, but I think that's one of those things where it's like, you don't really know how this is gonna, like, affect things. Like, you might still want to use them for something in the future, you know what I mean? So I'm not gonna burn all of my bridges and just take a bad credit score. I am gonna manipulate them to the extreme within their game. Yes, I'm going to have introductory offers, and I'm going to make thousands of dollars a year on that. Yes, I'm going to be manipulating zero APR offers, every single deal I possibly can. I will be stealing legally, using their, terms. I will be getting money from Chase. I will be getting money from Bank of America, Wells Fargo, USAA. Thank you for giving me thousands of dollars a year, because I'm manipulating your system. However, I'm still playing by their game in that, like, I'm not, I don't know. I'll be a good boy for the, I'll pay my bills. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna do the aw geez do technique. So, and also like Sam Hyde, I think he said in videos like he just rents. Like I don't know. I want to say in the last live stream, someone asked me, or we talked about him or something. Like, I think of his financial advice. Some of it's good, like, in terms of, like, go-getting. But, like, some of his financial advice is, like, really weird. And kind of, like, I don't know. I would consider it wasteful. I'm more like... I did an article on my website talking about that. And I didn't talk specifically about him. But we have very opposite views on some things. And I think that, like, going into extreme credit card debt to such an extent that you can never get a mortgage, that might be a bad idea, okay? Now, I've never gone to a bank for a mortgage. I've managed to, I've managed to do without that, and I think ideally, man, it'd be great if you can do that too. And I recommend it if you can, but, like, I'm not going to burn my bridge with the financial system, I'm just not going to do it. When are you gonna wrestle Sam, Luke? Oh yeah, who saw Sam boxing? Oh my goodness, that's so awesome to see him doing stuff like that. That's so sweet. As the Candyman. The Candyman! The Candyman is coming to crush you, lady. Yeah. I better not talk bad about the Irish Candyman. I better not say anything bad. Oh my goodness, he's gonna annihilate me. Oh man, he's just gonna wreck me. The Irish Candyman. Oh man. He's got other people to stalk, thankfully. All right. Okay, some donations. Samuel says, about a markdown-like language that is gaining support to compile to other formats, one I've been trying out recently is Neorg. It's a plugin for NeoVim that's under constant improvement. Even Pandoc support is being added. Not that it is monolithic. You can add or subtract specific modules. Yeah, I mean, Pandoc... I mean, that doesn't sound like what I'm talking about. Like, I'm talking about, like, bare bones, like, start from the... Like, if you're using Pandoc, you're doing it the wrong way. Like, I don't know quite what you're meaning there, but, like, Pandoc is, like, the clumsiest way of doing... I mean, Pandoc is very powerful, right? It can do lots of cool stuff. But it's very clumsy, and it is the worst kind of... I mean, it's like a gigabyte to install it with all its packages, right? Yeah, you can add and subtract things. I don't know anything about Neorg, but I'm not just into plugins that compile things. I'm talking about, like, making a bare bones, like, something that takes a markdown file with some extra syntax that can add in some other stuff and produces a PDF as a command line program, as a thing that actually runs by itself, okay? Melanson says, isn't irony kind of cringe? Why do you like magic? Why do you know like magic? What are you talking about? Maybe he's talking about the alchemy reader. No, it's nothing to do with magic. Alchemy back in the Middle Ages, like, esotericists have very much distorted it. Alchemy back in the day, it was literally just chemistry. It was literally, like, there was a big... I mean, a lot of it was very, like, esoteric and philosophical because that's how they wrote. But this idea that, like, alchemy is, like, occult stuff, that's much later. That's what the Renaissance and the Protestants did to it. Like, they screwed it up. Like all these theosophical stuff, that's modern. Back in the day, it was very much a scientific thing, but it was also, I mean, it had esoteric readings because it was very much, they had a deliberately obscurantist way of writing things, like the Hermetic way of writing things, which is very different. So it kind of looks like a bridge between science and occult stuff, but, you know, I mean, it kind of is, but whatever. But irony is definitely cringe. Yeah, people who say they're doing things ironically, but they are actually just doing them because they actually intend to. That's most of life. Most of the time, I'm gonna ironically do this, but it's really, dude, you actually just want to do it. Just be real. Sigma grind set. Just, like, don't apologize for it. Just do it. Irony is, like, I don't know, it's kind of low energy. Catalina says, hi Luke, I'm a student, a linguistics student at a Chilean university, and I want to take the computational linguistics route. Sadly, computational linguistics is not taught in my country. Do you have some advice on this? Also, what is your least favorite linguist? Least favorite linguist? Oh man, where to start? No, I don't know if I want to name any people, but anyone who's doing generative linguistics is basically, I don't know, well, I shouldn't say that. There's some guys who are not that bad in it, but, like, in general, it's a big waste of time. It's a big waste of intellectual energy. So anyone who is a staunch defender of it and talks about, like, obscure formalist stuff, that's the enemy. There's someone in my head whose name I'm thinking about. Have I met him in person? I don't actually know. I may have. I'm not even gonna clue people into who it is, but who came to mind. But I'm not even gonna say it. Don't even ask. But I think generative linguistics attracts people who are, like, psychologically intense, and they just want to, like, debate and argue about things that are inconsequential. Like modern academia, okay, especially in America. I don't know how it is in Chile, but in America, it like the ideal academic field to take advantage of the system is one where you are talking about unimportant formal stuff that cannot be proven or disproven. It's not like empirical. It's just like abstractions. There's no way of actually. It's all kind of obscurantist and, like, nothing. Things have official definitions, but they kind of change, and people so people have these debates over these utterly inconsequential things. They can't explain what they're doing to normal humans out there. That is, like, the ideal in modern academia, because that is what you can write papers on nonstop. You can produce infinite amounts of papers over totally unimportant issues. And that actually is what generative linguistics is in the United States. If you ask them tangibly, what have been, like, explain to a normal person, what is an accomplishment of this entire field since it has existed, and they come up utterly empty. It is like, here, we've discovered this stuff that people have already known of for thousands of years, but we didn't know about it because we never read that stuff. You know what I mean? That's all they have to show for it. So, most other approaches to linguistics, they're more grounded. Like computational linguistics people, they're probably, they have their problems, but they're more grounded. So are people who do like real field work. So are people who do like language acquisition, even like. But so in terms of the original question, it's hard for me to give you a recommendation of like how to start doing computational linguistics if you don't have, like, off the top of my head, I can't think of an individual book to recommend you, or I would just say think about a data set you want to work with and look at how other people are handling data sets, like what languages they're using, and analyze a data set that you're interested in using that kind of stuff and work from there. I don't know if you're starting at the bare minimum or a little further on, but that in general, that's what I would say. Just work, I mean, you have to be like goal oriented. This is like not just true of computational linguistics, but anything in academia. It's kind of funny to me. A lot of people go to graduate school or even undergraduates who are more precocious. Like they're interested in a topic, but in the sense of they want to know factoids, but they're not like motivated for a particular goal. And my suggestion is be focused on a goal like, I want to clear up this philosophical issue. Could be a theological issue, right? I want to clear up this philosophical issue. I want to understand how this thing works. And this is like a long-term project, right? This is like a long-term like orientation. And then goals will automatically arise as you get there. This is actually similar advice that I give people. Oh, how do I learn how to use Linux? Well, have a goal for what you want to accomplish, and then like step by step learn how to do this, that, the other. I mean, that's kind of how it works. But when I was in school, I did do computational linguistics, but I was not primarily a computational linguistics person. There were other people who did more data. Most people then were actually using Python because Python just has all these packages for stuff, and they analyze data with that. But I wish I could give you like some more like a book that's more like big picture, but off the top of my head, I don't know. I'm sorry, I can't give you computational linguistics. That for computational linguistics. Sean says, "What are your thoughts on Alexander Dugin and the I almost read that as multipolar world order." Dugin is one of those guys who like is only influential because like people in the Western media say he's super influential. I mean, and it's sad because like they just got like his daughter killed because of it, or they probably just did it themselves. Frankly, like the Western media, I don't know. Might as well. Some dude read too much CNN and wanted to kill the guy. So I don't. I'm not really interested in him. I mean, he's back in the day. Like the media has this tendency to create bugaboos, and it's weird because they pick random people for bugaboos that are not really that influential or important. Like I remember back in the day, back like 2015, 2016, they randomly picked this guy Richard Spencer to just hate on him, right? And like if you were around base and red pill people back then, no one had ever heard of this guy. He was like a guy who was famous because the media started talking about him, and then he was like the forefront of all these like. I'm not gonna call him a Fed. Lots of people did call him a Fed, but he just became a bugaboo for people to hate. And I think Dugin is the same way. Like, I don't know specifically. I'm kind of familiar with his ideas, but not enough to like give voice to them. But I do feel like he's one of those figures that is only influential because the media is kind of forcing him as a meme, as something to like to serve as a contraposition for them, right? So Yeah, and especially like the you know it's nonsensical because you can just ask anyone in like the Western media wanted to present him as like this guy who like was really close to Vladimir Putin or something absurd, which is just like, I mean, if you know the facts on the ground, like it's just not the case. I don't know, but Putin is kind of also someone they demonize to some weird degree. All right. So, some nonsense email says, "Do you know shorthand?" No, I don't. Let's see. Let me check for Monero. Monero. Let's see. Okay. So it appears my donation message didn't go through properly. Here's my donation message, an image of my account statement that shows I donated. Okay, sorry if things are messing up. Looks like some are going through. Maybe a couple aren't. Maybe it's just his issue. Hello, Luke. I have recently had someone explain to me that I2P can be used as an alternative to DNS, assuming that their explanation is correct, and that I understood it correctly, as I am not well versed in this area. Would you consider it viable to use as an alternative? Also, thank you for your parable of alien chess. I have used that to help friends of mine understand the major flaws with modern science. Okay, thanks. Yeah, I mean, that essay was good because it helped me explain things that it's hard to get things out of your brain. I'm glad I kind of thought of that one. So I don't know anything about this I2P thing. I think the most important thing, if you have this new standard of doing DNS, the most important thing is you would have to have it backwards compatible. So if it's backwards compatible, yeah, it could be great. I'd be interested. If it's not, like if a normie using the technology they are using, if they can like make use of that, like great. If not, it's kind of questionable. It might be hard to make that pop on. Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, it looks like a couple people. Yeah, it looks like a couple people like sent in emails because it looked like something like the donations were going through, but they actually did go through. So, yeah, don't freak out if that happens to you. All right, let's see here. Eric says, would you recommend a website watch list for states or countries to avoid specifically moving to? For states or countries to... I know that Mississippi is cucked from the water issue like Flint, Michigan. I know also that Texas is cucked from their electrical grid. Western Europe is a massive... well, yeah, don't rule states off because you heard something in the news. I mean, I don't know anything about Mississippi water. I mean, water is like a very local thing. Like, the state government doesn't have to do with water. And frankly, if you're in a rural area, you're going to have your own well anyway in a lot of places. So it's not really even your issue. So yeah, don't let that work. I mean, I'm not endorsing Mississippi. Mississippi is probably better than most, but I'm not... Yeah, don't rule that out because you heard something about water. I don't know about Texas electrical grid, but like electricity's the same thing. Well, it depends on... Like, different places do things differently. Don't assume that, like, every state is run by one... Like, I know that in Georgia, they just have Georgia Power. But in other states, like Florida, they have a bunch of different local companies. And so, like, you can't say, oh, well, there was some electrical grid problem in some place, therefore I'm ruling out the whole state or country. Yeah, don't do that. Western Europe is a massive meme as well, as we know. And the West Coast, East Coast is actively trying to destroy America. Florida seems pretty nice, but I wonder how they deal with hurricanes. Hopefully I move soon from Oregon. It's falling apart. I mean, if you're in Oregon, just move to Idaho or something. Just move over a little bit. Like, you're going to be fine. I mean, what's the worst that can happen? Like, Yellowstone blows up or something? I don't know. I don't know. I wouldn't worry that much about it. Like, most places in the United States, unless you're, like, in some extreme blue state, unless you're in California, I wouldn't really think too much about it. And even a lot of blue states, like in the Northeast, they're not that, like New York, I'd avoid. Like, but Vermont, New Hampshire, Maine, probably fine. Other things you might want to look for in the United States, you might give a preference for. Well, firstly, to be real, like these things are tiebreakers. Like if you have family in a state, if you know people in a state, if you have a particular opportunity in a state, it might be a better reason to take that as opposed to anything else. But good tiebreakers, look for states with income taxes or not. Look for states where homeschooling is well respected versus well regulated. You do not want people who regulate homeschooling. You don't want people who have income tax. Tennessee is good in general. That's one off the top of my head. You guys know I was looking in Tennessee for a while. They're good on a lot of things, but in general, most places would suffice. I mean, Europe is more difficult. From what I hear, Western Europe is more difficult in terms of land prices. Maybe in terms of, I don't know how laws work there. I don't know if they're annoying. Annoying in terms of like how they can. Is there like someone spamming the chat? Let me get rid of it. Sorry, guys. Let me just get rid of those guys who are like spamming. They're not even saying annoying things. They're just saying hi all the time. See if there are any others. Okay, he's gone. He's gone for good. I think it was just one dude being retarded. Yeah, don't fret out about that. Don't worry about it. Like, oh, Florida has hurricanes. Yeah, don't live on the coast. There are plenty of places. I don't know. Don't look from a bird's eye view. Look in specific areas, right? That's how I would recommend you to do it. And yeah, you can look at like taxes or something else as a tiebreaker. Are you going to add this is Augustus who says, are you going to add the Lindy Press to your GitHub? Shopify just selling a library to make customizable sizes for $2,000 a month. Clown World. Selling a library to make... Okay, I didn't process that right. But, I didn't originally write the software. People have asked about this before. I didn't originally write it. The guy who wrote the software, I think he kind of said... Oh, you can put it out there, but I prefer if you didn't. And I think that was because he didn't want it to be too big of a boon for Lulu. I think that's the way he put it. Because the software specifically that he developed works with one book printer. Theoretically, I'll just say the ideal, when I write it in Go, rewrite it in Go, or hypothetically some other language, I will happily put it out, free software, on GitHub. But it's going to have other perks. I'll just put it this way. Looking at it now is theoretically I could put it out now, but it's not perfect. It's not like a completed... I would rather give you the better version. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to get people on this standard that I'm going to get rid of, and I'm not going to develop. And like the dude who wrote it, like, he's the one... theoretically, who you can, ask all the questions to. Like, I can, bug shoot most things on my own, but like, I didn't originally write this kind of stuff, and I'm less familiar with how Python does things. So that's why I haven't put it out. Okay, so I'm not against putting it out. I plan on putting it out, but I'd rather write a better standard and put that out, even if it takes a little bit more time. Okay. Okie dokie. See if there's anything else. Alright, I'll look at the normal chat. Let's see what's going on. Let's see what's going on in the normal chat. Do you know Professor Barth from A of U? You mean U of A? I don't know a Barth. There was a Barth in our department. But if there's some... Well, actually, let's see if he's some famous Barth, Arizona University. Is that someone I should know? There are a couple funny people at Arizona. Jonathan Barth from Arizona State. That's the first result I see here. I've never heard of this guy. I don't know if that's it. Is he based in Red Pill or something? I don't know. Got a PhD from George Mason. Maybe he's a libertarian. I don't know. Maybe he actually is. Who knows? Yeah, I don't know about him. If that's actually... It could be another Barth. Your academics article has broken links to the PDFs. Yeah, I actually know that, and I haven't had time. Someone emailed me about that like 2 or 3 days ago, and I haven't had... This is like the first time I've been at my computer for a while, and I decide to freaking do a stream. Luke, did the bad guys win the Civil War? No, the Civil War is still going on, and we're going to win. Don't worry. It seems like the bad guys won the Civil War, but... Have you consumed Rings of Power yet on Amazon Prime, Luke? Nope. Not going to consume that one. I wouldn't consume it even if it were good, if it's on Amazon. Oh my goodness. Never mind. I almost forgot I thought about something. Thoughts on Andrew Tate. I already did that one. All right. Press the refresh. Oh, no donations. I guess we're looking back at this. Luke, how's the Lexus doing? Good and not good. It's a funny story. I actually have 2 Lexuses now. I'm so freaking rich. I have 2 luxury cars. No, actually I got... So, the old Lexus... this is like quite a tale. Basically, the head gasket blew. Why did the head gasket blow, Luke? Did you do something stupid? Here's what happened. I was actually driving to Linux Fest. Did I tell people the story? I'm sure I told people the story at Linux Fest. But I was driving to Linux Fest. And I was in a parking lot. This was actually my fault. This is my punishment for my sin. What was my sin? I went to Walmart. Okay, I went to Walmart to get something when I was on my way. Okay, I was like, I'm just going to pick this up at Walmart. I know that Walmart's going to have this. It was actually I'm not even going to tell you what it is, but it'd be even more embarrassing if I told you what. It was a cell phone accessory. I'll just say that. But I was like, I feel against my better judgment, I'm going to get this. So double sin. I bought a cell phone thing, and I went to Walmart. So I'm driving out, and all of a sudden I hear this splash. I was like, what is this splash? And I figure, like, I must conclude, maybe I ran over a water balloon. But it ends up what happens, I start driving, I realize, oh my goodness, my car is overheating. And so I pull it over, and I realize, like, one of the clamps on the hose to my antifreeze has broken. So I'm like, shoot, it's good I stopped here. I'm going to do the right thing. I'm going to get some antifreeze, put some coolant, antifreeze coolant, put it in there. But I need one of these clamps to clamp it back. So what I did is I actually walked in the hot summer sun. I had long pants for some reason. I walked to the closest car repair place, and I'm like, oh, man, here's my clamp that broke. Do you guys have like a clamp to replace it? And they gave me a free one, and I'm very thankful. And I walked back, and I put that thing on, and so I'm like, okay, I'm gonna refill the antifreeze. So I had to wait. I was gonna wait until the antifreeze cooled, or the car engine was still hot, right? Super hot. It had been like an hour, but I was like, man, it's still hot. So I actually went to lunch, had lunch at a Cracker Barrel because it was the least zoggy thing in walking distance. So I went to a Cracker Barrel, which actually Cracker Barrel is still kind of cooked, but like went to a Cracker Barrel and just spent some time, went back out. It was still hot. Okay, I still couldn't pour like this antifreeze in because like even to take the valve off, like it was, I don't know, I guess I could. I didn't have like I probably could have used some of my clothes that were packed up. But this guy walks by who purports to be a mechanic, and I'm telling him what happened. We were having a good conversation. And he tells me, well, why don't you just put it in the reservoir? You don't need to put it in this. You can just put it in the antifreeze reservoir. And I'm like, yeah, I guess I could do that. Yeah, I don't have to wait for it to cool down. Now, all you mechanics now are like, oh my goodness, oh, you idiot, right? Because as I come to find out, so I put it, he puts it in the reservoir for me. So I'm like, great, that's taken care of. Taken care of. I don't know why I said that. So I'm like, great, that's taken care of. I don't have to worry about that. So I start, I start going, driving up the highway, and, my car kind of smells funny, and I feel like it is a little hotter, and the gauge actually goes up for a second. Oh my goodness, it's overheating again. I pull over and it goes down. Now, ends up, the gauge is actually broken as well. It works off and on. So I keep going, and the gauge is still low, but my car starts making all these weird noises, and I'm on the interstate at this point. I could pull over at the side, but it'd be a lot more difficult. I'd rather stop at the next exit. So I decide I'm going to stop at the next exit. But as I'm pulling out, okay, just all of a sudden, lose power steering. Everything goes wrong, right? I'm at the summit of the exit. I can't accelerate, can't lose power steering. That's a bad sign. So I managed to like skirt into like a Wendy's parking lot or something like that, magically, without even being able to accelerate. It was just perfectly at the right place. And I'm like, oh my goodness, what has happened? And so what actually happened is, no, you cannot refill the antifreeze by putting it in the reservoir. Now, if you have any antifreeze in your car, you can do that. But if you have none, if it's all spilled out because your hose broke, you can't do that because it won't have enough suction to suck it from the reservoir. Okay? Now I've learned this. Okay? So long story short, and then I had it towed to get it repaired. And of course, basically the guy's like, dude, I don't have enough. I mean, it was at his place for like a month. Okay, and I was driving my cousin's car for a period. I drove on my cousin's car to Linux Fest, came back, he still had not fixed it, and then like it was like 3 more weeks, and basically I was like, yeah, dude, forget about it. I'm just gonna get a new car. Okay, so it's actually literally still there. Long story short, that's what happened to my Lexus. I can still fix it. But it's been sitting out for like the longest time. What I did in the meantime is I just kept eyes for a new car, and I got the exact same make and model, not because I wanted the exact same make and model, but because it happened to pop up, good price. It was more expensive than the other one. It was more expensive than the $2,000 I paid for the other one. It was closer to $4,000 bucks. But I got another one, which is actually in much better condition. I mean, the one I got was in great condition. It had a couple dents you saw in that video. But the new one is even better. It's like pristine, right? So the Lexus is doing good. The new Lexus is doing good. The bad one, it's whatever. I need to sell it. I'm gonna have a friend put it on Facebook Marketplace or something, and just get rid of it. Or I might have it towed to my house and gradually work on it and replace the gasket myself. But it's kind of involved. So that was a very long explanation. That is what my car can do. That's where I am on cars. Adrian says, here's some fake money. Thanks for the content. Oh, yeah, fake Brazilian money. Thanks. The plural of Lexuses is not Lex. The plural of Lexus is not Lexuses. It's Lexi. Oh, yeah. Shut up. Alrighty. Let's see here. So we got any Monero? No Monero. Wow. Fewer Monero donations than usual. I should show that. Should tell people to use it more. Okay, now that I gave that extremely long explanation of what happened to my car, I'm actually kind of tired. It's very dark in here now. I'm gonna change the exposure again. I'm gonna change the exposure. Where is it? Apparently OBS has this big stupid upgrade. It actually kind of looks better, or at least, well, it's more blocky, which is more convenient. Usually I get really mad when programs become more blocky. All right, let's have super light. Oh! I really hate. So I actually have it really bad because if you're bald, yet you wear black all the time, that is the absolute worst for getting the correct lighting on everything. That is one thing. That's one thing I've learned about photography since I have a YouTube channel. That's like the worst of every world. Like if you have, and the thing is, and it might not be obvious, in real life, if you saw me in real life, I am tanner than everyone. Okay, almost everyone. I know some people who are tanner than me, but I'm tanner than basically everyone. But like it looks like I'm really pale given the exposure of whatever. I'm not going to talk too much. It's boring. I'm boring. I'm not going to talk about that. You don't need to know all that. Let's see. Okay. Not getting any more donations, so maybe people are winding down. Maybe I'll wind down as well. Crypto feudalism way. Opinion on Mondo Megabit, Sam Hyde's MFT project. I don't have any. I know that like I think they have like sound and stuff in them. I don't care. NFTs, could not care less. Yeah, we run out of... Yeah, everyone has been milk dry. We just ran out of money, sir. Yeah. Great. I've soaked all the money possible from my subscribers. Now my mission is complete. All right. Let's see. Tips on how to make strong passwords and be able to remember them. So I've actually sold out, and I now use Pass to generate all my passwords. Or at least for most things. Like, there are some things... I would give you my method for generating... So, two kinds of passwords. One is I use Pass, and it just generates a jumble of whatever. You can use Pass generate, blah, 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 and it'll generate a password that, you know... Or you could use... You can give it the in option to not use symbols or other things, or you can give it a specific length you want. So I use Pass to generate, like, most passwords for banking, services I use, like Vultr, Epic, stuff like that. So all of those are as random as they can get. There are some things that I want to be able to log into myself, so I have more memorizable passwords. And also, like, on my computers, I have more memorizable passwords. But those... I couldn't tell you my specific algorithm for making those, because it kind of give too much away. But I'll say it uses a method where I, in a totally random way, generate random words... and then random transformations of particular words. That's basically how I'll say I do it. And so everything has different passwords now. Now I encrypt nearly every drive I use too. So that's the main thing I need to use the memorizable passwords for. So every drive I have, like this computer is now all encrypted, or like the boot is not encrypted. My Libre booted ThinkPad, it has an encrypted boot drive and root drive, with different passwords, right? I got to put 2 passwords to log in, just to de-encrypt the drive. Of course, it logs in my into my user account automatically, because, like, if you know the password to the partition, whatever, screw it, just log in. But, banking on the internet sus. Yeah, I mean, the only reason I have a million banks, and it's only because I get a million credit cards to, you know, cheat them out of introductory offers, right? Bank of America, those suckers, man. They sent me this thing. So, of course, I pump and dumped some Bank of America card for an introductory offer like a year or two ago. Like, it's like, oh, get this card, spend $1,000 on it, and get $200 in credit. So, of course, I did that. Paid off my $1,000 and got the free $200. And then they, like, sent me something in the mail that's like, bro, you can change your card that you're not using to this other card, which you also won't use, and we'll give you the same offer again. So great, thanks for the free $200. So suckers. Although this year I've been getting fewer credit cards just because I want to give some time. Really, okay, this is really what it's about. It's that stupid Citi Custom Cash, which is the greatest credit card ever created, which I usually get accepted to every credit card I apply to, but for whatever reason, they denied me twice. And I think it's because Citi is very picky about you having recent credit cards opened. So this year, I've actually not opened any credit cards. Well, there was a business card I opened in the beginning of the year, so I could put all my Lindy Press costs on that and not pay them for a year. No, thanks for the free no APR, you know. Suckers. Man, I just love... There's nothing quite as fulfilling as just making money off of banks. You know what I mean? Like, Notice how uncomfortable he is not rubbing his hands while talking finance. Yeah, that's right. I love... Yeah. I'm doing my part, dude. Everyone should be doing this for banks. Like, they should all be... They should all be doing introductory offers and, like, pocketing on all the money and, you know... I just think it's, like, your civic duty. It's your civic duty if people put stupid incentives out there. you should take advantage of them. It's actually your civic duty to live off welfare if you're not earning money. I mean, I don't mean quit your job and live off welfare, but I mean like if you're like especially a student who's on your own taxes anyway, and you're making like 10K a year, 20K, bro, get on welfare. Take advantage of the system. Even Sam Hyde will tell you to do that too. He rubs hands, nose grows accordingly. Yep. Anyone know the chair that Luke uses? What do you think it's branded? This is just, bro, it's just a chair. I don't know. Are you talking about this one that I'm not even using? Usually I use that in a live stream, but I guess I didn't even think maybe I should use it. It is more comfy. I use this one for doing work because it's like a better, I don't know, it's higher, it's at the right height, So this one is, now I'm like super low down here. You like my Allen Edmonds? They're I like these shoes. These shoes actually changed my life. I only got them because my cousin's wife, who nags me about things, she's one of those, you got to take off your shoes in our house, right? And when I'm wearing nice clothes, I don't want to have to untie my like Oxfords and like slip those off. They're hard to get on and off. They're perfectly sized, And as a perfectly sized shoe, they're hard to get on and off. So I actually specifically got these shoes just to prevent the nagging, right? But they're actually the best shoes I've ever had as far as in terms of like use. Like I wore them so much in the first year on so many occasions that I had to get them resold. Like they were really, really nice. Manlet transformation complete. Yeah, that's the thing about this like weird fisheye lens. Now I'm like a total manlet. I'm a manlet. So yeah, I gotta stand up here. Let's see. Base no shoes. Imagine wearing shoes inside. Yeah, Europeans like seethe. They seethe when they see Americans wearing shoes inside. That is, I'm sorry. We're free in this country. We can wear shoes wherever we want. Oh, yeah, maybe I should check donations. Maybe people have been donating and I haven't been reading. Okay, there's one at least. Stuart says, "Hi Luke, time for your extremely Jordan Peterson question." Jokes aside, I knew you were anti-video games, but what about other types of games such as tabletop and cardboard games? Cardboard games, why did I say that? Card games. Obviously, you have to put aside the fact that these types of games are run by compromised people. I find them to be much more, I can't think of the word, I want to say fulfilling, because I'm physically in the presence of other actual real life people in real life. Yeah. So if we're talking about like D&D stuff, like yeah, excuse me, I'm like hiccuping. Now, in terms of like playing cards or something like that, this is fine. Whatever. You're just playing a random game, like board game, whatever. Like that's whatever. That's what it is. Actually, now I look super tan. I don't know. Except for my arm. Why does this look pale? Like the exposure of this camera sucks. But when it comes to D&D, I would say that like it's similar to video games, but it's not as bad in that you can't just pick up and do D&D whenever you want. You have to like arrange with your friends to meet up and do this and stuff like that. So it's not like I think it's bad. Like my dad always actually used to tell me this not proverbial, it happened. He used to tell me the story about this kid he went to college with who like dropped out and like pocketed his parents' tuition money and like played D&D because that's like what he wanted to do all the time. And then he eventually like shot himself. So that was like my dad's. I thought it was corny, but it was the story my dad always told me whenever I like got in, like when I got into like Yu-Gi-Oh cards as a kid. My dad told me that story to like, I don't know, ooh, you better not get too obsessed with that. So there definitely are people like that who get like too obsessed with that kind of stuff, but I don't think they're quite as bad as video games. I think they're much more social, even though like D&D and stuff, they have reputations of being like total weirdos. I think it's less weird than like playing video games online. So okay, maybe I should let's see, this isn't on the screen, right? I'm always paranoid. Oh, do they see like the passwords I'm typing in here or something now? I actually need to type in a password now. Oh, don't look. I totally forgot which password this is. Dang it. All this talk about passwords. No, I do remember it. Okay. Nope. Okay, great. All right. So, Carius says, so I've been working my way through Moldbug, and I'm becoming interested in the history of political systems and organization. I've read a bit of the reactionary canon a la Demestre and Demestre. How do you pronounce that in English? Demestre. I don't know. Demestre. I never. It sounds wrong coming out of my mouth. Demestre. Demeter. And Carlyle. Looking for more proper history books. The famous ones are tens of volumes long, and it's overwhelming. I mean, the reality is, history of political systems. I think that's kind of questionable. I think if you really want a reactionary view, it's to read. I mean, frankly, just read anything from history. Like, you will get a perspective that is just different from what you're used to. That's all I can say. Okay, it's not like, oh, I gotta read Billy Based and Red Pilled and then I'll be Based and Red Pilled. No, like, this perspective is only different. I mean, it was just the norm before the Enlightenment. You know what I mean? Like, and it's not even a perspective; it's a lack of perspective. Really, it's just a lack of brain parasites, right? I think that's the real way to look at it. Like, a kind of, I don't know how to put it in words. So, I'm not really interested. If you're talking about, like, I don't think there is a history of political systems, frankly. Because even to use that term, that kind of presupposes something that's very Enlightenment and very, like, it presupposes that there is, like, some kind of natural movement in political systems, which only Democrats believe in. Only, like, people who believe in, like, the end of history and liberalism and stuff like that really believe in. Okay, so I think that presupposes something wrong. I would just recommend, like, to be, if you want to sound like someone who, like Moldbug, who's just, like, popping off with random stuff, like, from all these different sources, and, you know, he knows all this obscure historical stuff, and it gives him a bigger view. The way to do that is not to look for deliberately political or deliberately stuff like that. You just have to read widely and understand what's going on. Now, maybe Carlyle or Demestre, however you want to pronounce it in English, or I don't know. Maybe they'll give you a good viewpoint at that. I've read some Carlyle. Well, I've read some of both of them, but not very. I don't even own any of their books, I don't think. If I might have some of Carlyle's in a compilation, but yeah, I wouldn't worry about reading a bajillion volumes. I would worry about being familiar with, like, what actually happened in the past. Reading original sources would be a nice thing. Because if the Enlightenment did anything, it's like this whole, I don't know, everything has to be filtered through this commentary system, right? And that's kind of questionable. So Smith says, do you use NerdWallet to find your next credit card to churn, or do you have a better resource? I've been interested in this topic, but it seems like the most advice online is vague. I would just look at whatever banks, like, literally what I do is look on banks' websites. So the big ones like Wells Fargo, Bank of America, Chase. Chase might be the best to start with if you already have a credit score, because you want to get their cards pretty early. You know, Chase Freedom Flex or whatever. Discover. Chase and Discover you probably want to get first, then maybe Wells Fargo. So I would just look at the individual sites, and, like, of the banks that I already have cards for, which are those and maybe a couple others, like, I'm trying to think. There are just so many options. There are so many cards I still need to do. Again, I don't have Citi yet. Citi has some good ones. The Citi Custom Cash is probably the best. Like, once you have credit cards, Citi Custom Cash is basically the best credit card, because what it does is you can use it on whatever, of course, and they will give you 5% back of whatever category you spent most on. So if you already have other credit cards that are specialized on other things, and you just need something to specialize on groceries or something, you can use the Citi Custom Cash, and you're going to be getting 5% back on that. So it's like your elsewhere condition. It's like the thing you use on the thing you don't have a credit card for, right? So it's super versatile and super useful. But I would just look. I mean, you can look. Do I end up on NerdWallet? Yeah, occasionally. But I would look at that. Another thing is, So there's a forum, which of course I'm not a member of because using a forum is incredibly cringe, as I talked about in the last video I did. But there's this forum called MyFICO, and they have a credit card subforum, and you can put that in your they have an RSS thing for that, so you can put it in your RSS reader, and it mostly is just people posting random things about credit cards, but they will also talk about other like new stuff, new offers. And actually, you know, again, I obviously don't recommend using forums regularly, but they probably I know they have compilation of information if you're new to this. But in general, I would just recommend looking at the banks you already have at their websites and seeing. I mean, that's how I started. Like, I had a Wells Fargo account. I was like, oh, look, they have these introductory offers. I'm going to use them. And that's where it clicked. I was like, oh, I can actually do this. And then I realized, oh, this is a thing. Credit card churning. Like, people do this, apparently. And I just do it with little cards. Like, there are some families, there are some, like, people who are spending, like, tens of thousands of dollars a month, which is ridiculous. I can't even imagine spending, I don't know, whatever. If I spend $1,000 a month, I feel, like, extremely guilty. But, there are people who really have a system out of this, especially husband-wife pairs. If, you know, get your wife to do it, too. It's easier to space things out. Speaking of feeling guilty whenever I spend $1,000, I actually did spend $1,000 last month. I bought a new washer and dryer, okay? So I spent right around $1,000, a little over, because my washer broke. And I was trying to fix it for around a week. I kind of gave up, and I'm like, whatever, I'll just get one. Get a new pair, because these are super old. But then, when I pulled my washer out into my garage, I realized, oh my goodness, this is the problem. And now I got the part ordered. I'm going to fix it up, and I will probably return the $1,000 washer and dryer that I bought. Who is that? Nobody. Anyway, so, what was I going to say? Yeah, so I'm super cheap. Even if I need a new washer and dryer, I'm not gonna use it. No, they're not 2-in-1. So, yeah, I mean, it's not difficult to plan to churn credit cards. It really isn't. Like, looking back at it, it seems complicated. But you just get a credit card and you use it and pocket the money, you know? Yeah, that was a fun. I forgot to turn the thing off. See if there's anything. Sometimes I use it in live streams to, like, look at stuff. I'm going to turn it off. Okay. All right. Okay, how long has this been going? I feel like I've been going on too long. Oh yeah, 2 hours. Well, that's actually not too long. I felt like it's been going. It's probably just I haven't done a stream in so long. I'm not used to it again. JT says I will say this. People's grammar just disappears when they write a donation message. I've been really cleaning up the donation messages I've been getting. I have to use Stata for one of maybe he's saying statistics. I don't know, stats maybe. This is probably a phone poster. Actually, that's probably the problem. I have to use stats for one of my economics classes in university. The RChad in me okay. You're contrasting like languages and tools and stuff. Okay. The RChad in me does every time I launch the program. When will the academy finally get pulled on free software? Okay, so your second sentence didn't have a verb. Your first sentence, I guess you just had an extra contraction in there, but I could not. So he's saying, when will people use R instead of Stata or other stupid stuff? The thing with I actually was about to record a video on this before I decided to do the live stream, but the thing with normies is, and even people who profess to know a lot about technology, it is so difficult to lead them to water and have them drink when it comes to free software. It is the hardest thing to get through their head. I don't know why. Like, okay, here are two standards. here is this proprietary standard run by a company for profit where they nickel and dime you for literally everything. Oh, you want to do this? $20 more. Oh, no, you can't add this on. No, you can't add this package. Are we going to do this? Or are we going to use this free and open source standard that you can add stuff to? It is free. You don't have to pay for it. You don't even have to pay for it. It's not even a money thing. But there's something in boomers' brains, normies' brains, I don't know what it is. They're like, oh, well, I mean, if I don't have to pay for it, it's not worth anything, right? Oh, my goodness. Well, I better pay for it. It's going to be better. I'm going to get the one that costs money. I'm going to pay for the tech support that I'm never going to get, but I'm going to pay for it anyway, right? I was helping this church. They had some like terrible program that was just ripping them off for like doing church service stuff. Just shows the slides with songs and it puts Bible verses up there. But the thing is, they nickel and dime you for everything. They want upgrades all the time. Upgrade to this next package. We won't service this, that, or the other. You can't add stuff to it. Oh, if you want to add an extra Bible version, you have to pay for this premium version. If you want to like do all this kind of stuff with themes or other things, everything is like they're just ripping them off nonstop. So all I did is just use this simple open source the first open source program that I found, OpenLP happened to be, which worked perfectly fine, way more extensible, easier to add Bibles, easier to add songs. It's not like freaking cloud syncing and all this nonsense. It's just better. But the thing is, once I stopped doing that for them, and the first thing that happened when they ran into something they couldn't do, they just figured, well, let's go back and pay for this other thing that we also don't know how to use. That's how it is. So there's something, I don't know what there is. It's like a curse. It's everything with free software. There's like this magical force where if something goes wrong with free software, it's like it's because it's free software. So I'm going to use the stuff that it works even worse that I have to pay for. Okay, I don't know why they think this. I don't know why, but that's just how they think. So, actually, I think they kind of use both. The church I'm talking about, I think they use like both of these programs now. Just confuses stuff more, and like, I just want people to do things efficiently. It's not, in this case, it's not even about user freedom. It's just about user avoiding frustration. I don't know. It frustrates me. So yeah, why do people use proprietary standards? Well, yeah, I don't know. The problem is you have to learn more to use free and open source software! Exclamation point. I assume you're saying that ironically because that is literally just not true. I don't know. The thing is, in the case of that church, like, everyone who used the new software is like, wow, this is so much cleaner. It's easier to do things. It's better. Oh, we got to use the other thing because I don't know. It's sad. It's just sad. Oh. How are you enjoying Orthodoxy? I'm not doing it for my enjoyment. That's not what it's about. Sure, I enjoy it, but it's not for my own tickling. And do you know who Jay Dyer is? If not, I think you might like him. I know the Jay Dyer. I want to say we mentioned him earlier on the stream. Michael says, hey, Luke, love your philosophy, whatever my philosophy is. And I think you're usually right about things. But I disagree about your view of psilocybin and LSD. Oh, boy. I was cringy urban atheist before taking my high dose, but found meaning. Stoicism and similar outlook on life is... No, it's demonic stuff. Like, any of this kind of stuff. I mean, it might turn you from some philosophy to another, and maybe... Like, many evil things can be used for profit. In fact, I mean, if you're a Christian, basically, all evil in the end is going to be used for good, right? Just an issue of what side are you actually on. And in the case of that kind of stuff, it's a good, like psilocybin, all the kind of hallucinogenic experiences and that kind of stuff. It's a good example of this like, shedding away, like, humanity itself. You know, I don't know how to put it. I don't know quite how to put it, but, you know, the Orthodox Church, of course, is very much, and this is, another point where they're better on, other Christians nominally are supposed to be like this. Well, I guess Protestants aren't, because they just do whatever, but, Orthodox are very suspicious of the passions, okay? So that's why, revelrous behavior, if now, of course, psilocybin is not like getting drunk and going bonkers, but like the hallucinogenic experience is analogous. Like, you don't go out and act crazy, but it is something where it's like, it's a transformative experience, and like, wow, I don't know, I feel different. No, it's not. The orthodoxy is also not rationalistic, but it's not orgiastic either. Like, there's not. Both of those can lead to vices. You know what I mean? So no, I think that's, I don't know, all that kind of stuff. LSD, DMT. It's demonic stuff. That's all. I want to say, didn't Roosh maybe a month or so ago write an article about that? Because around the time he was becoming Orthodox, he like tried psilocybin or something, and he wrote like an article recently, like he wrote an article when he first tried it, and it was like mostly kind of positive, maybe neutral positive, but then he wrote another one recently about, oh no, yeah, it's bad stuff, or like, oh, it was like, I don't know, you can check it out. His website's rooshv.com. I want to say, let's see, what was it? I don't know, it was a couple articles ago. I'm looking at it right now, but I don't immediately see it. Maybe it was a while ago. I have him in my RSS feed. I don't actually... Now I want to see what it's called. I wonder what he has generating this website. Yeah, a lot of these blogs nowadays, they're not good for looking at like old articles. Like, if they're not on the first page, it's kind of not intuitive how to get to them. Oh my goodness, now my internet's out. I guess you can't see this though, so... Oh no, my internet's not out. I think it's just my... browser. I don't know why my browser pooped out on me. Or I think I did. Okay, get rid of that. That is a rare occurrence, but I guess it happened. Alright, where was I? Okay, I do have a... Proper Noun says, I didn't think the devil was real until my trips. You don't hear that take as much. Yeah, it will... from what... I think what Roosh said and what other people have said is that, like, it gives you this kind of quasi-supernatural experience. But, the devil masquerades as an angel of light. Like, a lot of people think it's a transformative thing. So one thing I want to do a video on, this is one thing that, like, in Orthodoxy... Like, this is a common narrative. Roosh may have written... Someone may have written about this. I don't know. But this is a common narrative in Orthodoxy I'd never heard in my life. But once I did, it totally made sense. Like, the Orthodox... I actually recently got the Jordanville prayer book. Very good. I recommend this. Consume this product, please. The Jordanville prayer book. Very good. So I do morning and evening prayers from them. It also has the liturgy in it, if you want to look through that and other stuff, other information concerning the Jesus prayer and how one should pray in church. Very nice book. But it has evening prayers in there, and I found it very interesting that many of the evening prayers specifically say, grant me a dreamless sleep. Why do you not want to have dreams? That's kind of weird. Like, what's weird about dreams? Like, Orthodox, they're not just suspicious of dreams, but even imagination. And that sounds totally weird. It's like, why would you... I don't know. Why would you be suspicious of dreams or imagination? Well, imagination, when you really think about it, like, basically every sin and vice comes from just stray imagination, right? Now, there are sexual sins which are kind of obvious. Like, people are led to lustful thoughts because they're just kind of sitting around. They want to coom or something. That's kind of obvious. But also, you get to thinking about people. You analyze people in ways you shouldn't. You get to you do things like you have quixotic fantasies about things, and in fact, you even think about things not necessarily for planning for them. Okay, I'm talking about imagination. I'm talking about you have fantasies about doing this, that, or the other, which oftentimes end up being the reason you don't do this, that, or the other, because the fantasies become an enjoyment in themselves. It's a kind of hyper reality. It's the same kind of thing as like living in a video game. So the Orthodox, they're very suspicious of like imagination, like wild imaginations, because like we in our society we think of that as being like a positive thing. Oh yeah, oh wow, look at that kid, he's so imaginative, blah blah blah. Or I want to have the imagination of a child, blah blah blah. But like spiritually speaking, it's kind of questionable. Like, I mean, yeah, you can sit down and think about things, but you have to do so deliberately. Like, not once you fall into kind of the passions, once you fall into kind of this passive state, you are just a receptacle for demonic influence, sinful influence, things like that. And it's true. Like when you really think about it, like a lot of your vices are made worse by times when you're just you're letting your mind really wander and do this kind of stuff. Now, this isn't of course at the same time, singular contemplation is a good thing. I'm not saying that, but in the sense of imagination as like thinking up fantasies, whether they're personal or financial or sexual or all this kind of stuff, that is something fundamentally questionable and leads to vices. And I'd never heard that before. I never thought of it that way. It's kind of obvious retrospectively, but I never thought about it that way before I saw, Orthodox people talking about it. I have fantasies of Luke doing the soy on camera. Yeah, people have asked me just to like do the soy boy impersonation like all the time. Do the soy voice. Oi. Okay, let me check for donations. I haven't checked in a while. Don't want to miss it. So HA or something, I don't know, Agit, I don't know what it is. I never know how to parse these email names. I really should put a prompt for like name so I can read that out. He says, why isn't peer-to-peer DNS built into Linux as an option? That would make domain names free for everyone. All they have to do is add it to their hosts file and register it on ICANN or your own accreditation corporation. What, like running your own DNS server? I mean, you could do that. I mean, it wouldn't make it free. You still have to register it with ICANN. Like, that's most of the... I mean, for most domain names, that's kind of the issue. Yeah, I don't necessarily get that one. But... in Galatians 5:20, translated term witchcraft is directly translated from the word pharmakia, which literally means the use of drugs. Yeah. Yeah. What Bible does the Orthodox Church use? The Bible. Like, the real Bible. Why did you showcase that Party Rockers Wojak in one of your videos? I don't remember that. I don't know. Okay, if you stop asking about creatine. I don't care about creatine. I do need that like automatic Janny that just bans people who post things over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. I had a friend whose mom burnt all his Yu-Gi-Oh cards. Well based, giga-based. So I actually, I haven't published. Do you guys know that I know back in the day I had a link on my page to my old website as a child. Do people know what that is? If I told you go find what was the address of my old website when I was a kid, does anyone know? I had a conversation with actually a kid who was kind of interested in technology, and I was like, hey, you want to see my website? I made it when I was 7, and when I said I mean mostly my dad. Oh, it's not even oh yeah, forget. This is old boomer domain. You gotta put www in it. Oh, and it doesn't have HTTPS, of course. You want to see a picture of me as a baller? This was like my profile pic when I was a kid. Hold on, I'm gonna show it to you. This was let's see new. Just pick it up. Right, where is it? There we go. Oh wait, open that. Yeah, that's me. That's me when I was a kid. That was like my profile pic on my website. I mean, you didn't have profiles, but you know what I mean. That was me. Very look at me. My appreciation for nature. Look at this vibe. This is actually what I wore a lot. Plain red shirt, jeans. I don't actually know where this is taken. Definitely in North Georgia. I just don't know where in North Georgia. Not actually sure. Oh, moving the wrong thing. Dang it. Come on, snap to the boundary. No! There we go. Let's get this. Yeah, I'll keep this up for a little. We'll minimize it. Oh, want to see a dorkier picture of me? Let me show you a dorkier picture of me. This one's like more embarrassing. I mean, it's an average school photo, frankly. But I do look like a total dweeb. Total dweeb here. But I'll show it to you anyway. Just because I have it right here. Look at that. Look at that. Total dweeb right there. I want to say this is like first grade. Bam, look at that. Wow. Throwback Thursdays. Remember that Mondays. That's what we call them. Remember that Mondays. All right. All right. I'm going to get rid of those. Get rid of these. All right. So, Stuart says, I've been an Orthodox inquirer for quite a while now, and I have a question about prayer. Isn't it kind of cringe to pray for specific things, such as someone to get better when they are sick, because it presumes you know what is best and not God? Surely if you pray, it should be to pray for things, for good things generally, or not pray at all. Yeah, so that actually I think is a big difference I see between Orthodox and like Protestants I'm familiar with. That is, Protestants love to pray for specific, like, there's a, oh guys, we're about to pray. Let's do prayer requests, right? And like everyone kind of knows that prayer requests, they're low-key just like people telling other people the news. They're like, oh, this happened. We got to pray for that. Or praises. Oh, yeah. It's like what happened in your life. And so, yeah, I feel like the Orthodox do that a whole lot less. And like prayers in general, they're not specific for, you know, you pray for the sick. You pray for, you know, things like that. But you're not saying, you know, very specific things. It's just like we're supposed to pray for these people, right? How many red pills ago was this? I guess he's talking about my beloved images here. I had some decent red pills already at this young age. I can't talk about which ones they are. Well, I'll just say that they're the kind of red pills you would probably end up, you know, growing up in Atlanta. So I was red pilled on some things already. Other things, not so much. Luke, don't get caught up with denominations. Just read the Bible. Yeah, spoken like a Protestant who just has internalized their extreme Protestant theology and reads it into the Bible. That no one in the universe ever thought before 900 AD, or, you know, 1900. It's ridiculous. I mean, really, you shouldn't care about denominations because denominations are entirely Protestant. So you should never... Yeah, denominations don't matter because they're not the true church. They're all like... putting it delicately, they're like fan clubs for Jesus that like mostly get things wrong. It's like how I look at many of the people who watch my videos and I cringe at them because like I don't know, they misinterpret things, they get things wrong. That I think is kind of how the Protestant churches are. All the Protestant denominations, that's basically how they are. They're like fan clubs that get most everything wrong. Like, oh, they mean well. That is how I'd actually look at it. And like I understand, like the thing with Protestants also in general, like I think there's a lot of grace historically for Protestants because obviously, like when the Reformation happened, like so there was the Roman Church, which as far as they know, like there was no contact with the East. There was no contact with all the other patriarchates and the real Orthodox Church. So you're set with, I mean, you have either the Roman Church, which is built on absurdities and contradictions and like is always in a constant state of trying to like square the circle and like work through absurdities, right? So you have either the Catholic Church or you have, I don't know, I guess we have to kind of make it, let's look at the Bible and kind of figure things out. So I think like historically that is very understandable of Protestants, and it's understandable if you've grown up, like most Protestants, they grow up, what the thing that like makes them justify their beliefs is this like straw Catholic they have in their head that has dumb arguments, and they have the smart responses. But the reality is nowadays, you really don't have an excuse not for like being informed on these things. Like, what do you really think it's a good thing when the Pope separated from the rest of the church? Like when the Bishop of Rome declared himself the ruler of everything, basically, and excommunicated everyone else, right? Because of a theological absurdity that he had added non-canonically to the faith, right? Do you think that's justified or not? If you do think it's justified, you're Catholic. If you don't, you're Orthodox. Like Protestantism is something that, it's people who on the gerbil wheel of Catholic coping, they flew off in some weird direction, and they've been doing their own weird things. So that's all it is. Okay, got a YouTube super chat. WDYT about, okay, that's a Zoomer abbreviation that I don't, what do you MK Ultra victim says, Luke, read my emails. Okay, let's look at his emails. I have a lot of emails. I don't know which ones are yours, MK Ultra. I'll read this guy's. Miguel says, got stuck on submitting, sent this email instead. Do you use... Wait, no. This went through. This is the Nerd Wallet question. I was talking with some Wignats, and they were telling me that Christianity is cucked and we should all move to Nietzschean will to power crap. Because that's more based and will help our people. How do you respond to this? Well, I just did an article on my website on why paganism is freaking stupid. Like, this neo-paganist crap is nonsense. Like, Nietzschean will to power crap. I mean, what is... Like, the thing about Nietzsche is that, like, his criticism of Christianity... is really a criticism of like liberal Protestantism. Okay, it's not like his view was like Christianity has become cucked. Now, he was an atheist, he wasn't a Christian himself, but he was criticizing like basically liberals have screwed all this up. Like liberalism, the Enlightenment, they've made all this stuff go awry. And he of course associated that like with Christianity, right? Or at least like late form Christianity in Protestant Europe. And this is another Protestant problem, because where does liberalism come from? Like, it's impossible to have liberalism without Protestantism. Okay? A lot of Protestants, I'm a fundamentalist independent Baptist, I'm based in red pill. Okay, maybe on like a lot of the point by point social issues you're great on it, but in general the Protestant movement is a movement away from tradition to firstly, the individual's interpretation, his own imagination of what he sees in Scripture, which is a Rorschach test for what he wants to see in general, right? I mean, there are some Protestants, like Protestants want to believe, firstly, that Scripture is like some like objective measure. Like on paper, it sounds great. Oh, I'm just going to look at what the Bible says, right? And that's an objective measure of everything. Sure, on paper, like on specific issues, yeah. I mean, the Bible says this, and you're saying that, yeah. I mean, that's a great point there. But for effectively all theological issues of any import, the Bible is either silent or ambiguous, or the Protestant interpretation is something ahistorical in the same way, So really what happened when you adopted this idea, we're going to trash everything about what we've been passed down since the apostles. We're going to trash all of that, and we're going to just look at the Bible and live in this eternal revolution. That is, that's silly, of course, because what it leads to is people just interpreting what they want, reading what they want, and ultimately it's infinite subjectivism. It's not objective. It is people being able to see. I mean, people have made up entire doctrine. There are things like the rapture. Someone in the 1800s looked at a couple Bible passages and squinted his eyes because he didn't want Christians to be around when like the world collapsed. So he said, well, I believe that Christians are just going to disappear, and here are a couple Bible passages that kind of look like that. It's no different than when Roman Catholics look at like here's where Jesus gave Peter the keys, and therefore, even though no one for the first 1,000 years of the church thought that this meant there's some kind of office of papacy, we didn't even have a word for it, but we're going to pretend that this is the case, and rapture's the same way. And either way, it's silly. Like I can understand someone if they want to do this Nietzschean LARP, if their only exposure to Christianity is this ahistorical low church Protestantism, or like high church liberal, super liberal Protestantism, where you have like it's just liberalism. I mean, that's all it is. It's just has this Christian garb. So I understand when people are like that, but it's reasonless, because what you're doing is you're taking the actual tradition of the Christian church, which you now have. Thankfully, of all the things the internet has done bad to us, you now have access to this. These people are in America. The Orthodox Church is now in America and many places in Western Europe and all this kind of stuff. And you now have an ability to contact the actual, the real Christian tradition. You know what I mean? Which doesn't, I don't know. It's not there. It doesn't have these issues, right? And aside from that, like, with any of this kind of stuff, you can say, oh, I read Nietzsche and some of its base. And I am constantly defending Nietzsche in the eyes of Christians. Now, of course, he's not a Christian. He's not, and he says some objectionable things. But I think in general, my impression of him is very good compared to most other people. He's very much an anti-philosopher, and I kind of like that. But I think for anyone to take the views of a thinker and to try and systematize it, especially because a lot of what Nietzsche said is kind of, I want to say, a troll or for rhetorical purposes. And, he himself, like this like dog eat dog, hyper Darwinian world that Nietzschean people do. I mean, this is a product of modernity as well. Okay. This is a product of like the Anglo-American viewpoint, or I guess it's Germanic as well, if you want to say that. But around this period, this is when you really have this Darwinian mindset setting in, even before Darwin, mind you. This mindset of the survival of the fittest, of a kind of, I don't know, quasi. It's like an end of history that is sort of political, sort of racial. Nowadays, the racial element, people want to ignore it, but it's the same thing. It's the same thing that liberals are doing, where they believe in this kind of end of history. Darwinian survival of the fittest, will to power, all this kind of stuff. It's the same kind of stuff. Like, it still is, that's one of the big questionable things about that. And, Nietzsche himself, I think, he said most of what he said is a kind of a troll. Not that he didn't believe in it, but I think, I think it was very much different from the life that he lived. He was also kind of a sickly guy, weirdly enough. For someone who's talking about will to power and stuff, and really I would liken him to kind of Jordan Peterson, where Jordan Peterson is always like on the verge of a mental breakdown. Nietzsche was as well. I mean, he had mental breakdowns, So there's a sense in which you kind of distrust people like that. I don't know. Anyway, I'm gonna randomly read an email. Hi Luke, what's your Latin pronunciation? Ecclesiastical, or he explains it as if I don't know what it is. Ecclesiastical or classical. When I originally learned Latin, I used classical. As time's gone on, I use ecclesiastical a little more because I will do some stuff. I will do more medieval reading and stuff. And when I do poetry, it will actually make a difference because things won't rhyme in the classical pronunciation. Also, I've tutored people in Latin, like kids in Latin, and when I do that, I usually use classical pronunciation though. I think that's standard. So yeah, classical when you're learning it. If you do something specifically medieval, I'll do that. When I pray in Latin, I will use I will pray in ecclesiastical pronunciation, but sometimes something classical will slip out because it sounds right, or I don't know. But yeah, that's fine. Feeling that. Oh, actually, email. I will you. Wait, what? Silas says, you say that people should hold beliefs because they are true, not because such beliefs are based or whatever, but at the same time, you say that people shouldn't rely on rationality or rational argumentation since rationality is fragile, etc. If we can't use reason because it's fragile, how are we supposed to evaluate whether particular beliefs are true or not? Well, I don't know. I don't think that sounds like a contradiction, but it really isn't at all. I would say you have to have a kind of meta-rationality. You have to realize that when you're looking at something rationally, you have a tendency to want to convince yourself of things. You have a tendency to overlook details, and that goes for any other person as well. Like the human mind in itself, like, yes, we want to approach truth, but you have to realize that you are fighting against yourself in that. That's what I would say. So I don't think it's not really contradictory. Like, humans are not rational people, but at the same time, we should believe things are true. Rationality itself, like formal reasoning and stuff like that, is a sound system, but the premises that we have going into that are not necessarily sound, and we shouldn't rely on. I mean, it's similar to like in academia when people do statistics to make it sound more real than it actually is, right? I think people have a similar problem of they use what they think of as being reason, and which is kind of reason, to reach conclusions that they have set themselves up to reach. That's what I would say. So I think the important thing would be having a meta-rationality, being able to look back. I would have, when I was younger, I would have like ideological purges. And what I mean by that is I would say, okay, I have all these emotional attachments to like, often like political beliefs or things like that. And I'm going to go on a purge. And I'm just going to, from now on, I'm not going to be insulted if someone says this. I'm going to not assume that this is true. I'm going to start over from square one, right? Or you have to be like, you have to be constantly looking at yourself. You know what I mean? So that's what I would say. Human reason is not reliable. I mean, formal logic in some narrow formal sense might be true, or tautology, tautologous or something. But that doesn't necessarily mean that us using it in a larger derivation that involves our own biases is not going to screw us up. Additionally, even formal logic itself, and even like human reason in its purest form, might not necessarily be a replica of how the universe works. That's another big issue, right? And that's possible as well. Either way, yeah, we still got to try as hard as we can to find truth. That's not contradictory, right? I'm not putting up my hands and saying, "Oh, screw it! Oh, we can't do anything." No, we have to approach truth. It's similar to what I said about you'll never live off the grid, but you got to get as close as you can, and it's like a function that approaches that value, but it never quite gets there. But as as time goes on, you're going to get closer and closer and closer. You're just incrementally moving closer, and it's sort of similar in truth, I think. You can never really get there because I think the human mind is not a perfect replica of reality. However, you can get closer and closer, and you can constantly test your assumptions and things like that. So that's what I would say. This is actually only half of his email. He probably goes on to that a little bit more. For example, you complain about Christian apologetics along these same lines, but if not rationality and not the fact that it's Heckin based, what justifies our belief in Christianity? Can you say something about intuition, divine revelation? I mean, yeah, so like that's what intuition, divine revelation, things like divine revelation is supposed to be, something that we can use as a basis, as a premise that avoids that, right? So if you are someone who, so I mean that's an example of a premise that we can rely on, right? Supposing you believe in God, supposing you believe in divine revelation, that works as a premise in your system, right? And intuition in the same way, like intuition, like when I did that podcast episode on like when you're too rational to be rational, on the Gerd Gigerenzer book, The Rationality for Mortals, and I talked about heuristics and biases. Like intuition is good in that like it's kind of like ecologically calibrated to reality, or maybe evolutionarily calibrated to reality, while our own reason might not be, right? So we might reach bad conclusions. But I don't see how this lets you make decisions about more intricate details, e.g. about whether Catholicism or Orthodoxy is... No. Well, when it comes to... Okay, so if you have... No, that's actually the domain where you do have the ability. Like, if you have already assented to some priors about the existence of God or divine revelation or something like that, yeah, you can use reason to adjudicate disputes, right? You at the same time, you have to be very clear about your reasoning. Am I deceiving myself? Like, if you're a Catholic apologist, of course I believe that Catholic apologists deceive themselves all the time, because what they'll do is they'll look at the past, they'll look at, some writing, oh, here is some guy who said, wow, look, oh, the Roman pontiff is the greatest, the most important, in some, honorific letter that he was writing him. And of course, in their cope mind, they will be like, oh my goodness, this is proof of Petrine supremacy and the doctrine of the papacy and all this kind of stuff. Look at all the complimentary things that people said about Rome in this letter, or something like that. That's exactly how it works. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Like, my view of Catholics, I mean, the reason I think the Catholics are so wrong about this is they are they fall prey so easily to this kind of self-deception, especially in quote minds when it comes to historical stuff. Whereas if you step back and look at it, you will be led to the Orthodox interpretation of ecclesiology and stuff like this, where you realize, oh no, that's just not how it works. Like, I don't know. So that is exactly the domain. Once you're on a common setting of premises, you can use reason to assess things, but you have to always, as an intellectually honest person, you have to always be thinking in the back of your mind, okay, why should this be true, right? Am I actually fooling myself in saying this? Am I deceiving myself? Are my passions getting in the way? Are the things that I want to be true, are they getting in the way of what actually is true, right? And there was a period where I was seriously looking into Catholicism and stuff like that. And I feel like I fell for that kind of stuff. Or really, I did fall for that kind of stuff some, but I think it was mostly just I hadn't really thought of orthodoxy as an option. I think that's usually the case, because when people really look at it, they're like, oh yeah, that's right, yeah. I mean, it's kind of an easy, it's often a very easy choice to make. So I really need to figure out the donation thing, because it's working, but people seem to think it's like not giving them confirms or something. So Harris says, thoughts on using paper versus digital files for things like notes, receipts, invoices, etc. I actually think that digital files are harder to find and easier to lose, at least on Windows. That could be the case. I only have a couple like paper archive. Okay, I need to like move my webcam. This is like my sitting position is causing testicular pain. That's all I can say. I'm gonna move this a little closer. Why do I have two Bibles right here? Both real Bibles, King James Bibles. I'm gonna move this a little over here, just so I can recline. Ugh. Wow, if only I had fancy things hanging off the ceiling like everyone else. Like channels that are a tenth of my size that buy that stuff. I should do that. Now it's like super dark. I'm going to do my video editing here. Change the exposure again. Change the exposure. Is it up or down? I forget. Oh, it's too light. Or maybe it's not too light. Maybe that doesn't look bad. That looks bad, even though it's like way more exposed. Okay, now this area looks dark. I don't know. Whatever. Yeah, so I only back up a couple things on paper, not that much. Yeah, I haven't really seriously thought about backing up that much. Now I do have some things backed up on like no, I wouldn't even say that. Like, I don't have analog technology backed up, but there is a lot of analog stuff that I back up digitally, but, you know, that's not saying that much. I do keep papers of, like, important... Like, I want to say, in a super secret place, I have, like, my GPG key, like, printed out on 4 pages of paper and, like, hidden different locations, which, hypothetically, if I lost it, I could recover it that way. Which is like, that's like too, I'd just make a new GPG key, you know what I mean? That's almost, but I would have some things I'd need to decrypt with that old one. So let's see. He has the Linux keycap. Yeah, I do have Linux keycaps. How is NoFap Ben? Easy. It is so easy not to coom. It is so any of these guys saying, well, okay, I'll tell people, usually my rule of thumb is, when you need to stop cooming right now, obviously. Stopping porn is even easier, but, stopping porn is something you can just, like, do, like, at any point in time. Cooming, I think, is more difficult to overcome. However, what I usually tell people is after 2 months, it's all downhill. It will not be an issue whatsoever. You're not even going to be tempted to. You're going to be like, oh, I'm not going to worry about this whatsoever. Is West Virginia the best state to go live in a shack in the woods? Probably so, because it's mountainous and, like, it's obscure. Like, there are mountainous places out northwest, but it's, like, a very tight mountainous area. It's different. It's, like, it's not like this impassable mountains like you can get out west. Although there are nice places, I'm sure there are nice places there. I think West Virginia is pretty good, and also nowadays it's very cheap because it's like economically so bad. It's probably pretty easy to buy stuff on the cheap. Not cooming is a game changer. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people think it like gives you superpower. Well, I will say this. This goes for any vice you have, whether it's cooming, whatever. You will not feel like a superhero. You're not going to feel like, oh, I have, like, psychic powers now that I don't coom. But, I'm not specifically talking about cooming here, but, like, any of these other things where you're like, oh, I'm not going to drink soda or something, you're not going to feel that different. It's going to happen gradually, okay? You're not going to, like, all of a sudden feel like, oh my goodness, I feel so great. But then you'll, like, drink some soda, and then you'll, like, you'll feel awful. You'll be like, oh my goodness, this stuff is terrible. I don't know how people do it. And you'll be aware of how it affects your body. That's how I would explain. I think the same is for cooming. I've never relapsed there. I don't plan on it. Being Orthodox, what's your view on Catholic saints and miracles? For example, Padre Pio, Saint Francis, and Fatima. Do you think they're all null and void just for being Catholic? I think they're most like I feel like a lot of Catholic alleged miracles are kind of histrionics, probably. And like just like folk, like kind of, I don't know. Like I don't rule out the possibility of miracles happening for Catholics or Protestants, or hypothetically even people who aren't nominally Christian, who might be like some kind of other religion that leads them in the right way. Like, I'm not against that entirely. I think it's possible, but I would say that like most of the Catholic tradition of miracles, especially in the modern world, there's some crazy stuff there, and I don't want to lend credence to that. I mean, the Orthodox kind of have a different view of miracles, where and other things like the veneration of like antiques. What's the word I'm looking for? Like like old things of saints. You know the word. You're screaming at the screen. I feel like the Orthodox, they're more like they maybe care less. I mean, miracles happen. Like every Orthodox church I've been to, like people talk about the miracles that have happened in their life, and people who have been cured of this and that or the other, and they're much more extreme than I've ever seen. in terms of like the I don't know, unexpected things that happen. But they're not like, I don't feel like it's a kind of a showy thing. I feel also that although, you know, you look at, oh man, sorry, my nose is starting to itch. I just feel like the difference is, there's a difference in, again, the Orthodox are strong on like not being too given to passions. And I feel like a lot of Catholics, I feel like a lot of their alleged miracles are much more likely to be the result of kind of mass hysteria. But I don't rule out the possibility of a miraculous event happening. But I don't have opinion on specific events. Obviously, things like Fatima, for example, presupposes the correctness of Catholic doctrine. Because I want to say, what is it? So, yeah, I want to say, well, actually, theoretically, I guess the three prophecies of Fatima, they could be consistent with Orthodox teaching, right? Three secrets of Fatima, I guess. I forget which ones they are, because it's like, I'm trying to remember what they are. I don't know, whatever. Who cares? I don't have an opinion on specific alleged miraculous events. I don't really, whatever. What are passions? I mean, passions are just like... So, what's the word passion mean in Latin? Okay. It comes from, the infinitive pati, which means, like, to suffer or to undergo. It doesn't mean suffer in, like, painful suffering. But it means, like, something is being done on you. Okay? So, a passion is basically... it's when you are not the agent, it's when someone else is the agent. It might be your physical body that is taking over. So, like, you might, gluttony can be a passion, or hunger is a passion, right? Or lust is a passion. Now, lust, like, sexual impulses can be used for good or they can be used for bad. Either way, it's a passion, and if you're letting a passion do what it wants, it is often morally ambiguous. It's going to do whatever. And more often than not, it's going to be directed to something that's bad, right? So when I say passion in that sense, it means like someone who's passionate in the historical sense is someone who is kind of an agent who's just laid back and they're letting their body take control, or they're letting demonic forces or the influences of others, they're letting them manipulate them. They're not sitting down thinking about things, prayerfully considering things. They're just, I don't know, they're like sock puppets, okay? So that is what a passion is, right? So when I look at a lot of this Catholic stuff, I don't really see, I don't know, I kind of feel like it's more on the verge of mass hysteria and things like that. And, Protestants, of course, the thing that's most worrisome about them when it comes to the passions is that they, like, when people are writhing on the floor in a Pentecostal church, they're not like, oh, this is someone who's, I don't know, having an episode. This is someone who, oh, wow, the Holy Spirit is speaking through them, which is something that has extreme potentials for blasphemy. Saying that, like, that's the thing that's most worrisome about how some Protestants work, because they think of emotion is like, oh, it's a good thing. Wow, look, I'm being, like, emotionally manipulated by spirits. Wow, that's a good thing. That's like exactly the opposite of how the Orthodox look at things. And like if you read how the early church functions, like, yeah, the Holy Spirit descends on people, but they're not writhing on the floor. They're not like they're not hysterical and things like that. It is something that is or Protestants will read that into it because that's what they want to believe, you know what I mean? They want to think it's like Pentecostal, speaking in tongue kind of stuff. But anyway, so that's what the passions are. All right. Yeah, it's chasing dopamine. All right. Check. I'm offended. I've only gotten one Monero donation. Maybe I should check out and make sure that the thing is working. Wait. Why did that go through? Okay. Okay, I'm getting a little tired. See if there's anything in the chat. Luke, how is your credit utilization? So I would say, let me do some math. Low, because I have a lot of credit cards. So I would say, just to tell you my finances, I probably have around like $75,000 in credit, I think. And I would probably say I'm using like maybe $1,000. And that's just on a card that's like just using for the, well, I opened to pump and dump for the intro offer, and I'm just waiting for the 0% APR to, you know, in so I can pay it off, because I don't want to. I'm going to pay it as late as possible. So I would probably say that. So I have pretty low utilization. I used to pay everything off all the time instantly. Now I just pay off before interest is going to happen. So I just let balances accrue on cards that, you know, have 0 APR. Oh, well, that's not including my business. For Lindy Press's credit utilization is something like 80% right now. But, you know, that's not part of my score, so I don't care about it. Theoretically, I'll pay it down before I need to apply for another credit card there. I don't know. Does your business actually have, like, a separate credit score? I guess it does. But I don't have access to it. Stefan Molyneux gets triggered if he gets 50-cent donations. I mean, the thing is, now I'm not going to say no to any donation of any size, but I will just say this. Out of sheer autism, it is annoying when someone donates a low amount, 50 cent, $1, because your payment processor is going to get a big cut of that, you know, or if it's on YouTube, it's even worse. Like, if you donate $1 to me on YouTube, I will basically not get it, okay? Because YouTube's fees are, like, so extortionate. It's the same thing on a freaking... I remember getting a PayPal donation from a guy. It was $1, and it was in some other currency. It was, like, some Latin American currency, and I literally got 0 cents of it. Because after the conversion fee and the PayPal fee, it was like, congrats, you've got money. And it's like, here's the money, you got $0 because the fee was $1. It's like, dude, why even waste it? That's the only reason people complain about $1 donations. Like, it's, I don't know. What I really should do, I'm too egalitarian when it comes to donations, because a lot of times I've been treating like the $10 donations the same as the $1 donations. In fact, I haven't even read the amounts out here. So what I should do is I say, I'll start this next time. I'll write it. Like, if you give me a $1, if you give me I think my minimum's like $3 or maybe $5. If you give me a $5 donation, you're entitled to like 1 minute of me talking. If you give me a $10, you get more, you know, it scales up, right? So that's the reason people complain about it, because it's annoying. Now, if you donate in Monero, great. Send in $1, send in 50 cents, whatever, because transaction fees are so freaking low. I will happily take any amount in Monero, and I will never complain. So, anyway, yeah, rubs hands. He didn't answer the anime question. I didn't see an anime question, sorry. Oh, jeez, dude, $10. I gotta get my pills. We should watch that video. It'd be hard to pull up in OBS. I already should have that. Okay, does anyone remember when I was back when I lived in that apartment years ago, I used to have this whole format where I would, like, for doing streams and watching videos, I would have, like, the video pull up here, and then I'd have the full, everything was auto-generated. It would, like, generate the title of the video and even create a QR code for its, like, for its URL if someone wants to scan it. That was, like, how try-hard I was back then. Or really, I just was experimenting with scripting stuff that would appear in OBS. So, haven't gotten... I'm going to see what's up with the donation portal. Sorry about everyone who was confused, but your donations should have... They did go through and I did see them, so... unless there's someone else who's going to say... yeah, I don't know what I don't know if I changed something about that or what. It's, you know... Oh, it's probably the email... Oh, hold on. Oh, yeah, I think I know what the issue is. Maybe. Alright, let's do some tech support right now. Do some tech support right now. And then config that. And then what is the password here? It's that. And then over here, we will go to, what is it? Yeah, FOSPay. Wow, Luke. Every time you do a stream, you have to, like, do tech support. I mean, this is a technology channel, right, guys? This is what people come for. Right? Am I right? Am I heckin' right, Areno? Wait. Oh, no. Yeah, that's probably it. Yeah, that's probably it, isn't it? Maybe. Maybe. Okay, right port there. Let's restart FOSPay. I don't know if that's it. I'll have to check it. I'll have to check it later. The laptops are not good for the laps. Yeah, they do radiate your testicles. Notice that's why I have it on my leg and not my lap. I am hyper paranoid about neutering myself by having a laptop like this. Imagine doing this. Imagine taking hot showers and sterilizing yourself every day. Yeah, my don't worry, it's nowhere close. Nowhere close. Okay. So, I think things are winding down. Or at least I'm winding down. I'm tired. Oh, but I closed out of Firefox. I gotta pull that back up so I can actually end the stream. Okay. So, this is about the end. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna double check the donation portals, make sure everything's working. And, thanks for everyone for stopping by. Thankfully, most Americans at least are off of work today. So, we can, I don't know, maybe I should do live streams during people's work, because that's, like, based in Red Pilled. If I'm, like, we're rising up against the wagey epidemic. Okay, where is that thingy? Alright. Yeah, see you guys. Yeah, I'm tired. Then I stream for another hour. Yeah, that's actually typical, but now I'm actually hungry. We need to go eat. So, okay. I've never developed a way to end my streams other than I'm just gonna end them. That's usually how I end my videos. So I'm gonna just say I'm gonna end this, or I'll end it on this side so it's a cleaner shutdown.